That might help. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome you all to this new instance of 6 oscillators where synthesizers and guitars collide. I'm gonna be hosting the show for you all. I'm froze, something like that. And since on the last show we left many stones unturned when it comes to this wonderful and almighty device, the Roland GR-55. Once again, full disclosure, no gear you will see here or be mentioned in this show was ever provided by the manufacturers or in exchange of any marketable goods or skills. All you see here is because I kind of have a problem buying gear, like some of us have, and I love this stuff, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and I'm really happy to learn to share the little I learned so far with everybody who's wanting to listen. For instance, you. Yeah, and look at you. Once again, changes, movements, gear in, gear out, trying to tweak to ever be a little better than the time before. As soon as anybody comes around, please let us know. Can you hear me fine? Can you see me fine? Is it really unbearable what is in front of you, or let's just give it an okay. Let me see if I can follow you guys, because I like to check who else is around. So, being a musician on YouTube is a copyright. Not that. Well, being a musician on YouTube is a copyright. Sorry about that. Yeah, gotta hate these things. Technology. Everybody who knows me, I hate computers. Computers hate me back. It's a universal constant. So let's do things the right way, shall we? Here we go. Let's get connected, shall we? Hello. Really? Okay. Here we go. Searching. Yeah, get that. And get this. I'm just making a little time so you get all acquainted and have a seat, get a drink, or many, because you come here for the information, but you stay for the train wreck. This is off the cuff, not really, but it's really highly improvised. Cool, here we are. Cool, Julia. I got you under my skin. So, modulation again. What is that, and why is important, and why do we care about it? So, as we have mentioned before in previous shows, 55, it's more than just a synthesizer, so it can do many things that synthesizers can do, at least certain type of synthesizers. But on top of that is a modeling unit. So there's things that you also can do to transform your instrument, the one is hanging on your neck, either bass or guitar, bass guitar or guitar, into a big enough bunch of other sounds, of other things that might appeal to you, that might squeeze your creative juices by allowing you to go in directions you wouldn't anticipate it, but they're really appealing. And on top of that, you also have a guitar processing unit. As in, the guitar you're used to, the sound you're used to, can be, like many other multi-effect units, can be moved, massaged into something more appealing to the track you're trying to play, perform, record, whatever. So that means that there's a lot to do with it, and everything could be happening at the same time. But little of you, little of me, little of us guitar players, or any player for that matter, your hands are busy. You're doing the things and making the sounds and taking the expression and putting your brain and your emotions on the things you're actually touching with your hands. It means that to do things are not actually the music, you're let alone with your feet. Which is, in many cases, plenty enough. But in many others, even more when you come to a unit this complex, which is actually handling two synth engines, one modeling engine, and a multi-effects engine at the same time in one single go, one foot is not really much. Obviously, because you need the other one to stand. Otherwise, you would fall. Duh. How can you maximize that little performance power left in you? Well, you still can do much more than understand the guitar with your hands. We'll see and talk about that. But you also can do much more stuff with your foot. The GR-55, which in fact, will I be able to... Let's see. Let's see if I have where it should be. No, is it not? Yeah, it should be here. Okay, come on, you can do it. It should be here. And problem is I didn't, in order to allow other things to happen, I didn't set up my secondary camera for the 55 to show you the actual physicality of it. So I'm trying to look for a picture that I can show you as a reminder or an introduction to whoever who comes around. And never seen one or not actually remember how does it look, or even, oh, seems I'm gonna be out of luck. Second, we get into it, we get into it. I got the BG-800, the new Boss product. 55 is not showing. Cool. Not in this hard drive. Hey. Cool. So let's see if I can do this instead. That's 55. Yeah, I think I can do this, can I? It might even work. Let me show you this. And it's gonna be like this. Yep, that's how a GR-55 looks like. The rocker pedal, is the size of a slightly smaller Vox Wawa. The bleak round thing on the middle, obviously, is the screen, which is very big and still not enough for all you have to handle on it. Mostly because of the way the menus are designed. Am I gonna be able to do this? Because if I do this, not gonna happen. Okay. So my pointer is not pointing. So I'll just have to verbalize. Good. So all the interactive, as in foot interaction things you're let alone with, is this rocker pedal, which is a threefold. Since the rocker pedal underneath, like a Wawa would do, has a switch, a click on device underneath, means that what you can do with it, it's one thing when that on-off switch is turned off, and a different thing when that on-off switch is turned on. Means you can do two completely separate different things in those two occasions, in those two status. Also, the switch, apart from changing from status 1 to status 2, the functionality of the rocker pedal, can also at the same time be assigned, put a pin in that word, it will come later on again, be assigned to do something else at the same time. Let's say let's make it the most simplistic possible. Let's go down to multi-effects. The off option of the pedal is going to be your volume, your master volume. How much sound are you going to do? And let's go for when you turn it on, it's going to control the mix with you delay, as in how much delay or how loud the delay is going to be once you rocket all the way towards it. But that, as I said, that switch can be configured not only to jump in between volume and delay mix, but at the same time that you do that jump, it would say yes, but also turn on the chorus. So you have this rocker pedal, you're gonna, when it's the LED light is that little round thing on the top corner of the rocker pedal. Well, my screen is really small, so I don't really know if you can see it. But yeah, what says expression pedal switch on off, right? Which is underneath, that's the pointer arrow. Will change the function of the rocker pedal from volume to delay mix, and at the same time turn on the chorus. Or whatever, or a very big bunch of any conceivable thing you want to change in that fashion. Things that will think or they will appreciate having a degree of control over how much. Otherwise, it's kind of assigning it to the rocker pedal would be kind of a waste, because if it's something that it's only says distortion, you just want the distortion on or off. It's totally pointless to get the amount of distortion on the rocker pedal because you don't really want that. You want all or nothing. That's something you could do with the switch under the rocker pedal. So you go from volume to delay mix, and at the same time turn on the distortion. But once again, I'm just talking about one of the four sides of the GR-55, which is just the effects processing of the sound you're producing. Expand that or extend that to the other, I'm going to call three engines or three departments of the units, which is the modeling side and the two synthesizer PCM sides. Then your only limit is your imagination and your time for programming and thinking ahead. What will you do? What will you want to do with that type of interactive control? Sorry. So that's one of the means you can modulate parameters, either non or full, on or off, or be able to control on real time with your music the modulation of one parameter, making one nuance on the sound. Right. That's really not too much when you think about 4 engines with literally tens and tens and tens of parameters each. So it feels, it's a bittersweet flavor on your tongue. It feels a little bit not enough. Therefore, they give you another thing that comes, to my knowledge. Well, in fact, I think it was developed at the same time. What do I mean? It was developed by Roland and Boss. Once again, if you've been to the show, or if you have any knowledge of the history of those two manufacturers, although they're separate entities with separate companies, separate target, separate markets and marketing, you could call them siblings, or the mother and the son or the daughter. They're kind of technologically, as in the guts inside, the technology that moves all that sound manufacturing, they kind of come from the same brains. All right. Yes, they have different divisions that will adapt the technology, the common technology that belongs to the corporation, to the different lines, as in things that a synthesizer player needs they don't need to match with what a guitar player needs. So on the application of the tech, of the microchip, of the CPU, of the DSP, the new language computer, the new OS, blah 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 blah, will be applied differently by both companies, but they came from the same kind of background. So the other thing that both brands developed parallelly was this little stomp pedal that they label CTL. I believe it stands for controller, which is basically a wildcard, something that you can tell the machine what will do at each instance, which is, as I said, nothing but another means to input modulations into the sound you're creating, changes over time, namely instant, as in on-off, change it instantly, or like this unit can do, change it but take your time, or wait a little bit and then do it, or do it on up and down for a while. Because that, as I said, it's an empty controller. It does nothing because it can do a lot. It's up to you to tell it what will it do. All right. Starting with the fact that I think you can configure it to be the on-off. I think that's what that little line means between the controller pedal and that USB memory audio player. Because if 4 engines of real-time creation sound wasn't enough, on the you're looking at the screen. Am I pointing at the right side? Yeah, I'm waiting for the real-time. No, I'm pointing at the other side. Coming. It's coming. Yeah. So if you follow this side of the unit, you can see that USB memory graphic, which signifies that on that wall of the unit, of the floor unit, there's a little trap door that will allow you to plug a USB thumb drive. What for? Storage, basically. You could store backups for your patches, backups for your settings, which there are plenty, backups for anything that is worth backing up, but also audio files. I think it's 44-bit, sorry, 44.1 hertz, 16-bit WAV files, I think, or a variety of WAV file grades, but not too many. I don't remember, but I don't think it goes beyond that. It's basically CD quality, which is plenty enough if you use it for what is intended. It's a backing track, so you can play and do your live performance on top of a virtual band. Yes, that unit can also do that. And at one point you can set up this controller CTL pedal to jump from wherever you are to the audio player. When you do that is when the numbers 1, 2, and 3 pedal, which I'm not, yeah, the screen will tell you. 1, 2, and 3 pedal, once you're inside the audio player, will become, I think it's skip, as in next track, play and stop, or something like that. So you can kind of control the play stop of the file. It doesn't change files automatically. I don't think it has. And I just said that I think you could skip on the pedal. That's blurry. Let me get back to you on that one. But once again, what's in the unit that will allow us, without having to tweak with our hands, to transform the performance, to enhance the performance with changes, modulations over time? Only this, the rocker pedal on the right, only the CTL controller. But if we go to the higher, to the higher edge on top above the screen and try to read the legends of the plugs, first of from starting from the rocker pedal, from the right of the unit, you can see the GKN, which is the hexaphonic divided GK pickup 13-pin cable connection. Guitar out, which can be configured to do either actually taking your original guitar sound, because you apply the GK pickup to a guitar, which technically you like, or theoretically you should like to play and to hear the sound. And let's say that you don't agree, or you don't agree with the results that the inside effects and processing does to your guitar sound. So you would rather get it out of the unit and send it to a specific, more to your liking, traditional guitar processing. Be there effects, pedals, triggers, samplers, amplifiers, whatever. So that guitar out, it's kind of hardwired to be able to do so. It cannot output the synth sound. That's the only exception. They only give you the option to get nothing, guitar, modeling, as in the fake guitar, the synthetic guitar that you would create out of your hexaphonic pickup input of the guitar, or both, modeling and dry guitar, in a way of speaking, or dry guitar with effects, same as the modeling. Because when we get to the shows talking about the effects in the 55s and the matrix, the mixing matrix of the effects in the 55, you will understand why this is not so straightforward. Luckily it gets really complex, although all the shortcomings will make it at the same time of whoa, and then and whoa. Tons of that in this unit. If you've been in this show before, you know what I'm talking about. Great. Guitar out then. outputs left and right, mostly either for everything, you could send everything to it, your dry guitar or your guitar with the guitar effects, your modeling and your synthesizer. And if you're really, really in a pinch, you can send all that on a 1/4-inch mono cable if you plug on the left. But obviously, since you have so much sonic palette and sonic mayhem, you might want to spread it a little bit, so better do it stereo. Obviously, those connections are going to be best enhanced by a mixer, a full range mixer, and a full range set of speakers. Because even with FRFRs, I don't know of many of them that could have tweeters. Because many of them are designed for guitar, although they go low enough, they don't go synthesizer load. Synthesizer low frequencies and rumble and rattles and harmonics and filtering. So you're always better with a full range, full tilt amplification system for those two outputs. Headphones, which is always welcome, although technically if you had headphones is not a professional unit. Don't agree, because you always can take this to the hotel and jam all night long without having the neighbors calling the police, the other guests in your hotel, on your gig, on your touring. MIDI, typical to Roland. Why put the full MIDI connectivity, as in, through, and out, if you can save one? Let's not get into the MIDI hardware because, at least to my experience, it leaves a lot to be desired. That's another of the many shortcomings of 55. So we keep following towards the left, and we get the computer. That is a USB-B connection, as in the GR-55 will be the slave to your computer, which properly set up could be all or one of the options of one MIDI in and one MIDI in and one MIDI out, and or two audio in and two audio out to talk with a computer, which is exactly what I'm going to be using tonight, as we used before, to use the third-party, totally compatible and almost flawless floorboard software by I always forget his acronym, Mr. Colin Wilcox. The community thanks him eternally. So it's better and it's more effective to get connected through the USB, although you still could do it, and I believe Floorboard still could talk to it through the 5-pin DIN MIDIs. And sorry, that's what I mean when I said MIDI in and out. I'm talking about round traditional 5-pin DIN MIDI cables. Because those two cables, 3 in fact, kind of, gets into the USB. And 2 in, 2 out, because you could, like I'm gonna do, you could feed the sound of the 55, all of it, I think, unless you set up guitar out to output the magnetic pickups. Because I don't think we're gonna test it tonight, so I will not be able to ratify tonight. So unless you do that setting, everything you have configured to the audio left and right will come out of 55 through the USB. And 2 in, why 2 in? Why do you need to send computer digital audio down to 55? Very, very simply, if you want to expand 55 to integrate with your DAW, being, I don't know, Ableton Live, for your performances, and you don't want to be carting around a whole mixer system, 55 will allow you to take the stereo left and right audio output of your laptop without interface, because 55 works as an interface with its own ACO driver, feed the computer audio out through the audio left and right. So that connection is really interesting. Keep traveling towards the light. Power, that's a switch. It's a soft switch, it's not a click, so it operates around the software, the OS. Long press, short press, wait for it. It needs a little second. So, and yeah, although it's not the slowest unit I've encountered, it's gonna be embarrassing if in the middle of your performance the power goes off, because it's not a fast rebooting unit. It's not the slowest, but not a fast one. Next up, just the DC power connection in and the cable retainer. And that's all you get for connectivity. Although I'm missing one. No, sorry, no, I'm not missing one. Once again, I'm getting confused because in my pedal board I have my GR unit and my GT unit. All GT units that I'm aware of, every one since GT3, to expand, to prevent the unit to becoming even more expensive than they already were, by adding extra hardware, as in extra rocker pedals to control more parameters, and extra controller foot switches to control more parameters, and extra patch recall stomp switches, like in this one, they're called 1, 2, and 3. They would give you a connection, an extra jack on the connection panel to attach either another 2 on-off switches, soft switches, because the triggering is digital, or instead of those 2 on-off optional switches configurable, you could attach a secondary rocker pedal. I'm not sure if Boss has released a rocker pedal with switch that could work under those connections, because those connections are TRS. You only have 3 contacts. So I'm not sure if they developed it. But the double foot switch, yeah, you can take 2 FX foots, I think it's FS6 or FU6. They look like little brick boxes that you can slide together to create a double, or buy any of the already double units, or the new vertical double with the two stomp switches instead of side by side. One, I'm gonna say above, but it's not right. It's just one in the vertical line, in the same plane, but in the vertical line. As if you look at the unit from the top, you would see one switch and another switch, instead of one switch and another switch on the side. So they're this way instead of this way. Because we all know how crucial pedal board real estate is. We can go any wider, a little deeper, possibly, levels, sure, but wider, the rest of the members of the band whinge about it. And God we know, because this baby, with both GT, GR, and all my rest of things, let's put it this way, I'm installing wheels in it because I can't drag it anymore. It's painful. Cool. But all this came because 55 does not have that hardware connectivity. So, if you're so inclined, or actually realize, like many of us, including me, that one rocker pedal, even if it's double functionality, even if it's sextuple functionality, It's only 6 things or 8 things that you can configure that had to happen in 2 motions, either forward or backwards, and with only one switch that could even do all those 8 things at the same time, but only in one motion. Now, if you need to control or have us, or you want to be a little more creative with the modulation of the unit and of the patch through your musical, with 55, you're kind of screwed. Because either you make a really convoluted system of expression pedals integrated with some modeling software or DAW and very convoluted configuration of triggering to channels to parameters to MIDI mapping. Or, like I discovered, is this company selling, in my opinion, extremely inexpensive unit, a little box no bigger than a pack of cigarettes, if we remember how much is that, how big is that, that will connect any standard expression pedal. It will self-detect it, it would self-configure it by default, but then also allow you to remap it to do whatever the one, including MIDI transformations. You can have a on-off click to be able to trigger notes, musical notes, because it will do something. Not so much in 55, but it will do something somewhere else. But for that, you will have to use your MIDI in and out. Basically your MIDI in, 5-pinned in to it, because, well, this unit also does USB, so I could use the USB for that MIDI. But as I said, you need to get deeper into MIDI configuration and into MIDI device and controllers purchases. Sorry. So that's what we have physically to work with. All right, let's get back. So, with those little controllers, and the other, we have 3 more controllers, kind of, because it gets complex. And those are the configurable GK actual switches. Let's just show you for a quick. Ooh. Yeah, we got sound, sorry. So basically, let me grow. There we go. In the GK, in the GK3 in this case, you have, get in there, one little button switch here, 2 of them, and a wheel that, although their voltage, anyway, the whole unit GK is voltage. Let me remind for all the people who didn't know, like I never knew, everything that happens in GK3 and in GK2 as well, everything is analog voltage. There's no digital conversion. There is no MIDI involved, nothing digital, no O's and zeros are handled by this unit. That's the main difference that GK5 is bringing to the whole business. GK5 does convert the voltage of the hexaphonic pickup, because 5 does not support the magnetic pickup transferring. It just wipes its hands out of it. Basically send us all back to the 2 to 3 cables dangling the guitar times back then in the 80s, because they remove the whole support for the magnetic pickups in favor of doing the analog voltage to digital voltage, because is just transforming analog voltage audio into digital audio. It's still sending audio signals, as in squiggly, very fast harmonics, dynamics, and type of information down the wire, the TRS wire of the GK5, because it's the new generation, namely SY300 and 1000 and SY1000. And after that, excuse me, not the 300 and 1000. Those are 13-pin tech, okay? The new generation, GM800 and VG800, the synthesizer and the modeling units will take a TRS cable that would receive digital audio, namely faster, more resilient, harder to corrupt. And in the unit itself, in the stone box on the ground, like the SY lines, like all the 13-pin tech does, is the unit, the brain, doing the audio to synthesizer conversion for whatever means they put inside. Technically, the GM is technically conversion to MIDI, because I'm not aware it has any custom engine inside, and if it does, it's probably just for the effects. And the VG does custom almost exclusively. I'm not apart from the custom DSP transformation to a synthesizer sound, I'm not aware that it can do any of the synthesizer sounds that are not the ones pre-built in the unit, and let alone don't do any. Don't even think about sampling, which is, to me, the trick that all the GR units ever have missed. Because at the same time that keyboards grew and more power and more capabilities to handle samples, take samples, create samples, mangle samples, even going, I'm looking for the word when you use very small granules, granular, even going very granular inside the sample and use that as a wave shorts, as one-shot waves to be used to create the synthesizer sounds. They never implemented that on any GR unit that I'm aware of. If they did, I've never heard of that unit. And yes, I'm watching you because we have somebody to welcome, thankfully, and makes me rest a little easier, and knowing that now the show is finally become a little bit interesting. My beloved friend and tonight's co-host and everybody's beloved internet personality, Mr. Synth Addict.
Yeah.
How we doing, mate? Howdy, matey.
I'm hearing myself on your audio again.
Good. Let's fix that because I'm being
Your
fixing
banana
a lot.
is not working correctly.
No, it's not. It's this. How is it now?
Test 1 2. Yeah, I don't hear it now.
You're good?
You fixed it.
I did something. I don't know if I fixed it. Once again, you stay here for the train wreck. People in the outside, let us know if you can hear Synthetic.
I was beginning to think you forgot about me. I was going to go to sleep. Just
tell me about it. I'm 8 hours ahead of you. Don't grow old. It's a trap. Really, don't do it.
You're supposed to get excited. You're talking about guitars and synths and stuff, right? So exactly. Yeah. So
party on, rock on, Garth.
So I'm not sure if it means anything, but when I first tuned in, I think we were up to 6 viewers, and now we're down to 3. It looks like so.
Yeah, it's all my fault. Wait, I got a theory that 2 or 3 are not there really.
Could be.
I got a system here.
Yeah.
I got a little too much, a little carried away with all my surroundings. Disrespect our surroundings.
Oh, are you monitoring
So
another thing? Is that why? Maybe that's why.
I'm monitoring my soul off
Uh,
because as a, I, I finally, well, knock on wood, I finally found what was wrong with the system, and you would not believe it.
which system?
Because to make everything work, to get you and the
Oh, the pass
videos
through.
and the
Yeah, yeah,
audio
yeah.
and the pedal board and having controls separate
Yeah.
and being able to, do you hear any difference on my voice?
It's a little
One
more
two one
hollow.
two. It's
A
a
little
little
more
more
hollow.
hollow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have processing. I have control.
Okay.
Right. I can tweak. I can. If you can be a little more precise of that, we can do that another time. Go
Yeah,
through an
do this
actual
real quick.
sound check.
Do that. Yeah. I can hear the room, but it's not bad.
You can hear the room.
Yeah. It's okay.
No. That's what I mean. I put a room.
Oh,
One, two, one, two, one, two. Or did I? Didn't I? One, two. Hey, no, that's not it. Where am I? I'm on 4. Here. 1, 2. Test, test. Okay, so let's remove the room. What about now?
less
1,
room,
2,
but
1, 2.
it's less. Yeah.
Now you're here in the real room.
Yes. I'm hearing a little bit of the real room. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have I have
And we don't want to
half
go
the
to the real
whole
room
shebang.
like the movies. You have to go, oh,
Compressor,
hi,
the
Mark.
ESR.
You know.
Hey, I got everything running, and I could do the same
Yeah.
with you. Yes, I could. Well, in fact, I am already, just on a different level. As I said, people, if it doesn't sound right, tell us off. Sorry, tell me off.
I think
Want to know what
I
did
think
I?
only one person is actually watching. So I think it was Osio Head. That's about it. So,
Then Hasio, chip in. You're welcome.
but it's also
Want to
late
know
for
what
him. I
was
know
wrong?
that. So he may not be here
How
longer.
silly stuff. Turns out that the mixer can set up independent sample rates per channel.
That's why sometimes you go.
No, that's why I didn't have sound.
Oh.
The disparity was so great that
Oh, sure.
the computer couldn't take it,
Because
so it
sometimes you
shut
sound
the
like
whole
Barry White
channel.
too. So that's another sample rate thing. So
But that is also when the whole thing collapses. But I'm using it, but I couldn't use it for the past 3 months because every time I tried, I would find it wouldn't work. It wouldn't input or send in or send out because it was shutting down specific channels, and that's why I wouldn't. Why, if this is working, why this is not working?
right.
It's too powerful, too complex for my little stupid man who hates computers. That's why they hate me back.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
It happens. Oh, we're
Cool.
up to
So,
four,
what's
we're
up
to
with
4
you?
watchers now. You just gained a
Yay!
watcher.
Yay! One more.
Not much. Just busy. Trying to.
But are you doing all right? Job is good.
Yeah, it's
Good enough.
getting by. I'm trying to save money going to the Living Dead weekend coming up. So next month
Okay.
in Pittsburgh. So gearing up for that, getting ready for more endless live streams
Pittsburgh.
and
How many hours drive is that?
no, you fly.
Oh, you're flying. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good boy.
it's near the East Coast, so it's
Shit.
home home of George Romero, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Creep Show, all that stuff. And they have this convention
stuff.
every year at the Monroeville Mall where they shot Dawn of the Dead in 1978. And Walmart this year bought the fucking mall. So you know what that means. If it doesn't change
turning it down.
dramatically right away, they're just going to knock it down.
Yeah.
So
Or prevent you from doing these conventions.
well,
every
a
year.
little bit of everything at least. It's all on the cards, but we're not sure exactly what and when. So this is considered to be probably the last convention they could ever have there, because
Mm-hmm.
part of the allure of the place is it was a living movie studio. The entire movie was shot in the mall pretty much.
Mm,
And it hasn't changed
cool.
that much. You can still recognize it feels like you're in the movie when you're there, you know. And how many places are
Cool.
like that, right? I mean,
None.
things change, things get knocked down. Most things are done in
Yep.
studios or locations that don't exist anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
also the crew is there, actors, special effects guys, other filmmakers, um, memorabilia sellers. If you want to get, I don't get the autograph thing, but people are into autographs.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. You can get autographs and hang out with people and just meet like-minded people and talk about that whole universe. And it's just really fun.
Cool.
And the area is fun because it's Pittsburgh as a whole. It's an older community, so like almost all the buildings are brick. We don't have that many brick buildings out here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those buildings are, some of the houses there are a couple hundred years old.
Mm.
I know, like Kent's is older, and the other houses around there are even older than that.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah, but
guys are, but I mean,
for
for
America,
U.S.,
it's a
that's
lot.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
For stuff to be around from that era.
Mm.
Um, so when you drive around, it's just a totally different vibe. The climate's different, obviously. It gets really cold out here in the winter. You get snow and bad weather. But
Seen it.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
all over the
So
shows.
so when we go out there for the show, it's nice weather. It's a different vibe. There are plenty of
Mm.
filming locations like the um,
Nice.
Evans City Cemetery where they shot Night of the Living Dead is still there, and it looks identical. So you can actually, have your little screen grabs from the movie and line up shots. That's where they shot that. That's where they shot that, because the headstones are
And you can
still
be
there.
yourself. You can
Yeah,
put
you
yourself
can.
in the same
You
shot.
can. People are doing photoshops themselves in the movie and all kinds of stuff. So
Hmm.
it's just a lot of fun, and it's
Cool.
fandom in its purest sense. It's just you don't have to go there and buy a bunch of stuff. You just go out there and hang, and get the vibes and talk to people and make friends. I made a lot of friends through that
Nice.
that study, and also one of my friends has a channel. I was on his show. What was it? 2 nights ago? 2 nights ago, I think it was. Um, where we did a live stream commentary of an '80s slasher movie. So, so, and it was a blind
Nice.
watch. Neither of us had seen the movie. I thought I had seen the movie, but I just read an article about it back in the '80s in Fangoria magazine. So,
Hmm.
so I just it was fun for both of us because we had no idea what to expect, and the movie was one of those classics where it's an awful movie, but it's fun when you're
Hmm.
watching it with your friends and you're. I
Yeah,
wasn't drinking, but if you're
because you can
drinking,
make
it
fun
makes it
of
even
it.
more fun because we were just goofing
Yeah.
on it, and it was
Yeah.
pretty stupid movie. But
That's awesome.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch it. Can you tell me the name again? The film.
Oh, you don't want to see it. I mean, it's on YouTube. You can find. It's also on Tubi. It's
Yeah.
called The Majorettes, and it's written by
Majorettes.
it's written by John Russo, the co-writer of Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
So when they parted
In the
ways,
line of.
yeah, when Romero and Russo and those guys parted ways into two camps. So if you've seen Return of the Living Dead, the horror comedy with the brains, all the zombies saying brains and stuff, it's actually a fun movie. That came from the Russo camp. He didn't flat out write the final piece. He just wrote some of the early
Hmm.
treatments or whatever. But that segment went that way, and Romero's got more serious with the, you know, bleak end of the world zombies and all that kind of stuff, and just more realistic, right?
Yeah.
But then along the way, Russo made a lot of really low budget movies that were pretty terrible. Like because at the same time they're trying to make a buck, right? So they're doing like skin flick
Mm.
magazines with scream queens. So they actually had
Hmm.
a magazine called Scream Queen magazine, and it's just a pinup magazine. It's like prurient, chicks in bikinis or nude, uh,
Hmm.
posing like a low end Playboy kind of magazine. And so the movies reflected that. If you look at like this movie has tons of like gratuitous shots and TNA and like shots of them in bikinis, but like right in their ass and just it's classic '80s cheese and
Yeah, because sex never sells, doesn't it?
of course, yeah. Well, it sells even when it's cheesy, but it sells even better
Exactly.
when it's more
Yeah.
interestingly shot.
In your
This is really
face.
low budget,
Wow.
and he even has a cameo. He didn't
Hmm.
direct it, but he has a
Oh, the
cameo.
director.
He has no the writer. He has a
Okay.
it's a book he wrote first and then became a movie. It's usually his thing. He writes the
Mm-hmm.
books and then they turn them into movies. But he uh, he has a cameo as the coroner for one of the early kill scenes. And first of all, the kill scene, if you've seen any 80s slasher movies, the kill scenes are
Mm-hmm.
all stolen from other movies. So there's an 80s movie
Okay.
called The Prowler, or Tom Savini,
Mm-hmm.
the famous effects guy, did the effects for it, and the effects are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a shot by shot, basically, remake kill scene from The Prowler in this movie. And he comes in later as the person was killed in the pool. By the way, there's no blood in the pool. It's so low budget, they didn't bother adding dye to the pool, right? Even though she bled out in the pool, right? Um, and then he shows up as the coroner, and it's the flattest line delivery. It was as bad as if you just gave someone a paper with some lines they've never seen before, and they go, "Oh, that is what I thought it was. It's time for me to go now." It's like that, right? Almost that bad, maybe a little bit better. But
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
got a flat affect, and it's funny because when you
yeah. They
talk to him,
tried twice.
well, you everything's done pretty much one take, so it's classic.
Yeah,
But
no.
I talked to him at last year's Living Dead week, and he has a table with all his memorabilia and posters and books,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get him to sign stuff. But his affect when you meet him is exactly the same as he was in the movie. So he didn't even
Well, you
try
met
to
the
act.
star.
He just
You
came
met the
on,
screen star.
read some stuff, and walked off. And oh man, it was funny.
Amazing.
So we're having a good old time.
Crazy.
It's if you want to check it out, it's my friend's channel, Alpha Romero, and it's the Majorettes from I think a couple days
I'll
ago.
ask you again at another
So
time with
yeah,
my
yeah.
brains a little more clear.
And again, if you want to
So,
watch along, there's I think he put the link in there for the movie. If you didn't, it's easy to find on YouTube. But and it's uncensored.
cool.
YouTube didn't block out any TNA or gore or whatever. So enjoy it while you can. They may take it down. So
Amazing. They, they don't show boobs, but they show guts.
oh, they showed
As
boobs
in
though. They didn't cut
literally.
the boobs out either.
No, no, I mean, for
Oh, you mean
other
in
videos that
general?
have
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
the boobs, they.
It's all a matter of did it get caught or did somebody
Mm,
complain? There's plenty of stuff up there. I mean, there are literally breast exam videos that are medical,
mm-hmm,
appropriate, but that are still nudity, right? That
mm.
they get away with. But technically, if you have a nudity standard, you shouldn't be able to show any of that. So,
You're talking to a European Spaniard. Artistic
oh, I know.
nudity is a constant. It's like it's no
Well, even
big
the
deal.
non-artistic nudity, my brother brought back some porn magazines from Spain, and
Wow.
like my favorite was this one of the titles on the magazine was
We're gonna have
Juego.
to raise the rating.
No, it was Juego con mi muñeca, and it's the guy with blow-up dolls, and it's just the funniest shit. It's just so bad. I just love that title, Juego
We
con mi
never said
muñeca.
we were experts.
No, I know.
We practice. We don't
And
show it.
the photography wasn't good, and the people didn't look
Mm.
good. It was just everything was wrong with it. So it's just
That you see that one I doubt more. Probably you got a really bad quality or a very vintage one.
I think he got it just because it was funny.
Sure.
You I think
I
that's
mean,
he didn't buy it because it was like, whoa, this is
what
great stuff. Yeah,
what can be better? Fun sex.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Shall we lower the rating back to the...
All right. I just wanted to spice it
s-
up a little bit because
Thank
we're
you.
losing watchers, man. This is
No, no. It just went up. It just went up. I don't know why. So,
someone's ears are burning. They say muñeca,
yeah.
porn,
Muñeca.
boobs.
Boom. Boobies. Coolio. Let's bring it back to synths
So
and guitars.
before you go into the deep dive
Yeah.
on your thing again,
No, we're gonna go together. Don't worry.
okay, I was going to say how many more modules, how many more episodes could you get out of this box? Have you mostly covered it?
Is that a dare?
No, because then you really lose the watchers, right? You want to keep it. You're going too far in the
Once
weeds,
again,
then you know.
guitar related, I don't have that much gear.
Yeah.
And it's already that we're making once a month. I mean, if we try to do this once a week, I'll be over already.
No, because there's
I
other
don't
things
have
we could
more.
do. I mean, we could dive into stuff you
Sure,
don't have,
we will. That's
and
why I'm trying to
yeah, yeah,
stall
yeah.
it a little bit. But yeah,
And other than the
above
ones I had that were
55,
stolen, I
at
have some other
least,
stuff I can show. But
yeah, at least two or three more, least.
really,
Because then, yeah, we still need to look into the effects side, into the MIDI implementation, And I just discovered, oh, I now that I put my hands to work, we're gonna do one about the V-Link.
Do you have
Wow.
some to hook it with though? I don't have. I have things that do
Yes.
V-Link, but I don't have extra stuff to
Yes.
V-Link. Like
Want
vSynth
want me
has a
to?
V-Link,
Yep.
and like Wagyu actually has that video box that has the little wipe
Does he?
lever and V-Link.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff
Mm-hmm.
will talk. But I don't have anything else
Mm-hmm.
that does V-Link. I don't think. I think that was it.
So, want me to share what I know so far in a nutshell in three
Yeah, yeah,
minutes?
sure, yeah,
So, V-Link is nothing but a bastardization of MIDI.
yeah.
It's Sussex. It's
Okay,
Roland exclusive. Only Roland is, and to my knowledge, because I've been searching eBay to see if I can actually get hardware. Because the funny thing is, I just discovered that Roland has a video division. Literally, I just discovered a month ago.
yeah,
Roland has a video hardware division, pro level tele and audiovisual
yeah.
editing
Well, I don't know if they have
performance.
as much as they used to have because a lot of this V-Link technology was actually old. It was pre-HD.
That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah,
The V-Link is a very weird beast because, first of all, it has no job in 55 to be there.
yeah.
And because although it's cool as heck,
Yeah.
it's really, really cool.
I mean, you could probably sync it for live video for shows. One of
Once
the
again,
aspects of it. Yeah.
no, that's the only aspect. V-Link is a subset of the MIDI implementation
It's
that
like
Roland
video
developed.
DMX. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
But sadly, Roland did with V-Link what Sony did with the mini disc, which is
Yeah.
basically they kept in close quarters, didn't license it at all, and
Yeah.
only Roland, to my knowledge, only
Or their
Roland and
products.
Eddie
Roland and
Roll,
Adderall. Yeah.
which is Roland,
Yeah. Education
are
Roland. Yeah.
hardwired, preconceived to talk to each other without much tweaking. They understand the language, they talk the language, and they
Yeah.
do it almost just by plugging and turning it on,
Yeah.
right? What I find out is that V-Link is CSX, means that nothing that is either hacked or Roland manufactured,
Mhm.
sorry, Roland and Eddie Roll manufactured, is gonna understand V-Link as it is.
Yeah.
But it's also MIDI, meaning that any piece of, in my case, software that can remap MIDI to control video does work.
Hmm.
And boy, does it work.
Because GR-55 also has MIDI, doesn't it?
It's the whole point of 55. It's MIDI.
Yeah.
That's why the latency, because everything goes to MIDI first
Yeah. All right.
and then to other places.
But you can't do the key MIDI action.
What do you mean?
You can't play it from a keyboard, you said.
You cannot send in MIDI,
Yeah.
but
Right.
to send out.
Yeah, sure.
So
Well, that would be stupid
what
if you
it
couldn't
ended,
send out because that's the whole point of the interface. Yeah.
and once again, technically, although that's another show we could do. I don't know if anybody would be interested. Is how could you expand hardware-wise 55? Because as I was saying a minute before you just came in, the hardware that you get to control the guts of the unit, it's really stupidly limited. A
But it
unit
has
like
to be
this
portable
needs
too,
at least,
though, right? I mean,
but it's not that big. Just one extra rocker, like some other GT units
I
have.
always see what you mean. But you can add a pedal to it.
No,
If it's MIDI, you can.
exactly. You
Yeah.
need to waste your MIDI connections for input.
But if you have a patch bay, then
And
you don't have to worry about that. Or multiple
once
in
again,
out kind of thing. Yeah.
that's what I'm using. That's what's in my system. I bought one
Yeah.
of the CME's mini 5-pin hubs. It's 6 out, but that thing is amazing. Works like a charm,
Yeah.
very low consumption, very affordable for what it is, and it also comes with mapping, filtering, and morphing, MIDI morphing.
Yeah.
You can take CCs and make them trigger notes, and the other way around.
Hmm.
It's bonkers. I
Yeah.
really recommend it to anybody. The only problem in my application is not so much, is that it's only 3 in, 3 out. They don't do any bigger, and
Yeah.
they don't do them linkable. If you need 4 out or 4 in, you're screwed. You need to
Yeah.
buy another unit, or
Right.
well, one of the double units, blah blah. But it gets convoluted.
Sure.
But my point is, so far, what I've learned through my testing is the whole MIDI implementation is there. Any CC you send to 55, at least 1 to 96, I believe. Because funny enough, when you try to map stuff, it doesn't go beyond 96. All the MIDI CCs be 96 to 127 or to 128, it depends when you start. They're not there. It's like they don't even consider. It's like, oh, 96 is way more included, even considering that, oh, those 96, 30 are already taken. It's like, wow, you're never going to run out of 60 NRPN CC messages. So at least that's what I thought. But they're all there.
Yeah.
It will take it. It will react to them. The only thing it would not react, therefore make a sound, is note on. And it would be funny that it wouldn't react to note on, but it would react to note off. As in, they actually went into the MIDI
Purposely
code
yeah.
and just remove note on out of it and lift everything just unattended, because that's a 5-minute job.
Yeah.
Technically, well, theoretically, I don't know how do you actually do it, because I understand that all these implementations. Well, first is Roland. They designed them. They were the fathers of the beast.
I mean, it's understandable from a change of direction thing, so they don't want to do that anymore with that and sell you other stuff. Also understandable that they also wanted to focus it more on the guitar side and not have to do tech support calls for a guy hooking a keyboard up and going, why doesn't this work with my thing? They want to focus on the
your
guitar
GR1 can do it.
I get it,
Once
but
again,
I mean, there's a dividing line where they don't want to do that anymore.
But then, when they become boss, the SYs also do it.
Yeah. Maybe it was a
Until
judgment call
somebody
at one
comes and
point.
proves me.
Yeah, maybe it's a judgment call
Until
point and they
somebody
reversed.
comes and proves me wrong, 55 is the only one
Yeah, probably.
that they bother.
It could have been
And
the management
my
at the time
theory,
decided that, and then they said, this is not good. Let's go back.
many reasons, but my theory, I keep repeating it to everybody who listens, is because it's a dual PCM engine with a custom engine and a sound multi effects processors and an MP3 a WAV player for less than $1,000.
Sure.
They had to take away something.
But it's also a Rompler, and it's going to be more limited than
That's
what
the
some
engines.
keyboard players want. So did they really lose
But
that
that's
much
exactly
business
why
by
they
doing
did.
that? Yeah.
If you're a keyboard player and you want to use this as a module, go and buy Integras, XVs,
Right, which has a lot
whatever is
more
out.
variety and power for that anyway. So
And they start the price at $1,400.
yeah.
Those £500 in my case,
Oh yeah,
jump
Integra.
is
I was
what
going to
made
get
them.
an Integra because I love my 1080, and
Sure.
and I have some cards for it, but I don't have them all. You buy the Integra, you get kind of all the cards and then some. So it was a cool idea to have it all in one box, but it was always expensive, so I never got an Integra. So, did you spring a leak?
Yes. In this rotten zombie tin of canned food, why do you think I did this.
No, they're
I
different.
have everything.
Yeah.
I have
But a
every
Tegra's a good
JVs.
swath of everything. It's not maybe everything, but in a single
Exactly.
module, a 4U module, it gives you a lot of shit.
Same as the 2080 in Roland
More than the
Cloud.
2080 though, because the 2080 still have to add cards. Oh, in
But
the
this
cloud,
no,
right? In the cloud, right?
in the cloud is a
Yeah.
1080 because the technically speaking, there was never a 2080.
But the cloud, then you got to have a computer everywhere. It's not a module you can just put in your
That's
rack and
one.
go. So
Yeah, but everybody's happy to do nowadays.
no, I know. I
They're
have one cloud.
mental.
I barely use it, but I have it. It's cool.
A lot of people is happy to tour with laptops.
Yeah,
You won't see me doing that unless it's for other
yeah,
thing that is not music. But
yeah.
there never was a 2080 as in a hardware development. The 2080 is just storage wise two 1080s.
Yeah.
I can show you, I can prove it.
Oh, I get it, but it's
The
still labeled
engine, the
2080, and they did
quality.
sell one.
No, but yes, there's a
Yeah,
unit
yeah,
right there on the bottom labeled 2080.
yeah.
You look inside the guts, what is the engine taking care of the polyphony, taking care of the multipartility, taking care of the programming. It's a 1080. The difference is it can hold twice as many cards,
Yeah.
twice as many banks, and twice as many presets.
Well, the vSynth GT was just two vSynths in a box. It didn't really get much better than that. It's still very cool, but it's also a hell of a lot more expensive. So,
Just for the sake of it, when
yeah.
it's engine wise, the same thing. A lot of people said, "Oh, the first JB was the 1080." No, the first JB was the 80. Oh, but the 880 is an 80 in the rack. No,
It's different, right? Yeah.
that's to be able to say this, to go through them, listen
You
to them,
you have it, yeah, so you can hear it. Yeah.
is like this is not only an exercise on marketing, but also a very nice look through the peeping hole of what was cooking in the brains of Roland in the 90s.
Roland's also crazy too because you take like the JD800 and then you take the
Yeah.
JD990. JD800 looks fancier, has a great control surface, but is not as powerful as the JD990. They did that all the time where the rack unit that came out later that was an evolution of the board was not only the same overall thing, but they always added a bunch of shit to it that the original didn't have. So then you had to get both if you wanted all the features.
Because JD and JVs kind of were on the shelves around the same era.
Yeah.
That's why. That's
I
the
remember
only
when
reason why I'm
JD80s in the store.
assuming.
I remember going and look at them in Guitar Center when they were new. So,
Cool.
yeah.
The thing with the 80s, what I can read between the lines with the JVs, is that the flagships are the keyboards. Sorry, the
Yeah.
keyboards. This is the OGs. This is the ones that did the thing. The racks are add-ons to the keyboards,
Yeah.
and they're designed expressly to work as such.
But they were a great standalone too. JD990 by itself was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but their marketing concept is the 880 was there to expand the JV80.
And 990 has no
The
red glue.
1080, the JV80 never went through the red glue.
No, I'm talking about
the
880.
80.
J800. JD800. The
The
JD990
JDs
has no red
went,
glue
the
because there's no
keyboards did.
keyboard.
The 80, because it's unweighted. Wait, yes, it's unweighted, right? That's why he never went through the red glue, because the next weighted one, which is not the 90, funny enough, is the 1000. So I have them in oldest to newest, kind of, okay? Because I have the SGs aside. Wait, no, this is the 30, is one of the first JC. So this
30
is the
jack.
first launch.
Yeah. My friend had
Depends
one. It
your
was very
application.
limited. Well, you couldn't do anything
Yes.
automated. You couldn't automate the
Yep.
filter. You couldn't
Yep.
automate the some of the envelope tweaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
couldn't.
you could.
It was pretty
I'm gonna go with
limited.
you that you could
You
not.
do it with the
Yes.
you do it with a computer. I'm talking about on its own. It was anemic.
But you have the lever for the filter if you want it.
Yeah, but it's just not.
It's a very nasty sounding filter.
Yeah, it's
Yes, but
and it had the sound canvas stuff in it was pretty good, but I don't know. Some of the sounds are good, some weren't. So it's just
no, but that's the catch. The GS, the 30, 35, and 50, their sound, their SC engines, as in the design and how they operate and the amount of editability power you have under
yeah.
your fingers, they're sound canvases. All right.
Wait, is 50 the one with the speakers?
No, none of them has speakers.
Okay, I thought one of them had speakers.
No.
So what's the 50 then?
Shall we? Okay. Let's forget
just real quick, 'cause
about
this is
GR.
yeah.
Okay. The 50 is a 35 with a floppy disk.
Ah, okay, right.
Full stop.
Sequencer?
Nothing different.
Sequencer?
No, 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 no,
Just
no,
patch.
no. MIDI playback record.
Oh, I
Real
see.
time.
Okay.
No sequencing, no editing.
So it's for busking.
The only
you load your shit and you just play. Yeah.
the only editing function, which to me is funny as fuck because in my brain is really hard to do, and why they bothered to do that instead of making a simpler thing by putting a sequencer even basic. They call it -1. The floppy and the player can play 16 parts MIDI files as one single instrument. You cannot mangle and turn off volumes up and down of the individual parts. You can't. But it will allow you to turn off one of them. Any of them.
And then you play
There's
that
only one.
part live. Yeah.
Once again, it was two completely products to address to completely different sections of the market for completely different reasons, completely different
I've
engines.
never seen a 50 anywhere, not even on Reverb or anything. So
Yeah, because it's a 35. It's so much a 35 with a floppy that if you buy a 35, the book manual of it is the 35 and the 50. They didn't even bother printing two manuals. Because the only difference is the floppy,
yeah.
nothing else. So
funny.
why a LA synthesis like JB-80,090 is also called JB like a SG engine like 30, 35, and 50? I haven't been able to put it to the test and find a scientific way to prove it, but I think it's because
But wait,
they're
those aren't
using
really
the
LA.
same
Those
chip.
are Rompler only, right? I thought.
No, this is LA synthesis,
It is
linear
Okay.
arithmetic.
So they have the sample transients and the synth engine with it. Okay, I thought they're all
So
Romplers.
it's basically, in a way of speaking, JB80, the OG, it's a bulked up D50,
Yeah.
doubled. Instead of two partials with samples, you got four partials with samples.
Well, it's more of a bulked up JD800 because that was the sequel to the D50, really. So
But they didn't went as specific about the VA side of it.
although
They
the
went more to the
JD800
Rompler side.
had the highest quality samples of any of those because they weren't compressed.
That's why I call it a bulked up D50.
Yeah.
Okay, because they were going for a price market. So why a sound canvas and an LA synthesis are both called JVs? My theory, reading between the lines, no facts yet, just these bubbling thoughts, is because they're using the same sample chip.
Why not? I mean, it's already there. So, I mean,
Is the
Emu
only explanation.
Emu used for the whole Proteus line, all that whole line of those their version of Romplers and controllers and stuff like that had sounds on them. They use those chips to death as well, the G chip. So that's everywhere.
I have no facts. I haven't opened the things. I haven't read and written down like other people have the name of the chips in the DACs. I haven't go through the ROM chips and read that is the same ROM with the same serial
Well, damn it! Why
in both
didn't you?
units. Because I hadn't had the time and the
That's
motivation to do
that's
so
for somebody
yet.
else. That's for the chip nerds.
No, no, no. That's for me later on,
Oh,
right? But the only thing that makes sense, just reading between the lines, is that they share the kernel that makes them sound good,
yeah,
the sample ROMs inside them, because everything else is nothing in common.
yeah,
Really, it's like two different worlds. They should be completely different lines. It's like Jupiters and Junos,
yeah.
nothing in common.
Hmm.
Cool. Back to 55. You want extra control? You need to go
Hmm.
through the MIDI port. Luckily, you can input MIDI both through the 5-pin and the USB at the same time. I don't know if you go into conflicts, as in it will go glitchy all on you. I never tried because I just didn't have the time to do it. But technically, you can because I'm doing, not at the moment. No, at the moment. It will take a lot of configuring and troubleshooting. But yeah, technically, you could send. What it really bugs me about the MIDI hardware is that it's a soft through, but it's not a soft through. It doesn't pass through shit, not even clock. Although the manual spends a whole chapter telling you that it does.
So what does it
I
pass?
Nothing. It doesn't pass anything. What it takes is program changes, it will take it and send it out again at the same time, but it doesn't let it through. So it's like a relay system instead of a soft through system.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of gear things out there, synth related and stuff that have that island scenario where like you have a really cool arpeggiator. Oh, sorry, it doesn't go out through MIDI. Like what?
Yeah.
You're only stuck with what's on this box. You can do
Yep.
note on, note off, pitch bend mod, all that stuff, but we do not send the arpeggiator out. We're sorry. I'm like,
Yeah.
it happens. So
As I said, but it really bugs me. I mean, once again, I'm. It's only me. It's only so much time I have to do this, and there's only so much room I take to put all the gear together in the same room and plug it, and so only so little time before my brain crashes into desperation and go down in a corner in fetal position, saying no more, please, no more, to troubleshoot this shit. But
you just put a sleeping bag
so
under all the keyboards. That's your bed, and then you have room all over the place. Take your bed out, and you can.
that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
Great. But as I said, so far it's proven that no. Could be because although I dress in black, I'm that optimistic, but I still keep a little bit of hope, always that little stupid,
It,
silly bit of
it's your
hope.
your inner
Could
inner
be
Johnny
because,
Cash.
yeah, that's my outer Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash learned from me. So, um, could be, and I hope it could be because there was 55 was released in Mark 1 and Mark 2. Okay, got two releases, right?
How can you tell by looking at them?
Because Mark 1 is blue, Mark 2 is black.
Okay.
Very easy. They did it on purpose. Because in fact, what they change makes is irrelevant. It's
Because all
so
I ever see are the blue
minuscule. Nobody
ones.
gives a shit.
I've never seen a black one.
Good. So you've seen the Mark ones. The Mark. If you see any black one, it's not a paint job. It's original. That's the Mark 2.
And why get one over the
But
other?
I bought the blue because I love the blue color more than the black color on a floor unit.
But what are you missing?
When they released the Mark II, they made the firmware available and backwards compatible with the Mark Ones. So, what I gained from getting my Mark One firmware and installing the Mark II firmware, apart from filing a little bit, one or two glitches here and there, is just extra patch locations. They just compacted the firmware even more
No,
efficient
no
to allow.
audio quality, no extra features or anything. Wow.
No extra sounds. The engines are the same. The effects are the same. The
They
parameters are
didn't
the
put the note
same.
on back in.
They didn't put the note on purpose back in.
Yeah.
That thing was out, and it was out for good.
Yeah.
So that's why when I was told, because obviously at that time I didn't have the money. I didn't even have the money to buy the original the Mark 155. So I did a ton of research before buying, and I learned that you could buy the Mark ones and put the Mark II firmware. And I said, wait, that might be an opening for if I found somebody or any remains of Mark ones in a shop like I did. I can buy the Mark one because it's the color I like, and it's easy to see on the ground. I don't really understand foot pedals that are black. You put them on any dark stage, which is every freaking stage that is kind of that it
Sure.
gets paid for, and you don't see shit apart from the lights. That because everything is dark, they blind you, so you don't really see anything.
Well, there are
That's
lights
why,
on the unit, though, right? I mean,
yeah, but they're so bright that they blind you. You don't see the unit.
and
The
don't you get
light is
like,
blinding you.
don't they have like grazing lights so you can see your gear? Any kind of, no? That's weird.
You wouldn't believe the stages I've seen made and played on.
Hmm.
You wouldn't. And you wouldn't want to play on them.
So then how do people get their pedaling right if all these stages are so bad? There must be, I mean, everyone's got the same issue, right?
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
Muscle memory. You don't really read. You know that you got this many things you can stop and out of the relative position, and you still, and I've done it, sometimes you stop on the wrong one.
Yeah.
Because, yes, your muscle memory is based on the fact that you're on a relative position to the unit, but if you switch or shift that position, your muscle memory goes off the
Do people
window.
put little gooseneck lamps on their pedal boards?
Yes,
Yeah.
tons of them.
Yeah.
And some pedal boards are actually built like, those music sheet stands
Yeah.
that have a little hood over with a bar of light that only floats down
Right.
that
Okay.
the audience can't see.
Yeah.
Many pedal boards are built that way.
Okay.
I have to get into the lighting thing for mine, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mark 1s and Mark 2s, they're interchangeable. Yes, you win extra space, which when you throw the facts out, seems like the Mark 1 already had too much.
I was going to say, how many
But then you
presets do you
get-
really use?
Okay, here we go. On synths, you get it from the factory. Even if you get 100 and 100, or let's go MIDI, 127 and 127. 127 ROM factory and 127 writable for the user, right? From those factory 127 on a keyboard, on a standard keyboard, as in a
Well, 128
synthesizer,
because you're counting 0 as 1, right? So
yes,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
You say potato, I say Roland, you say
I'm just
Yamaha, I
saying,
say
you know.
potato.
Yeah.
Roland, Yamaha, Yamaha, Roland. Good. We all know that. In those 127 factories, you're going to have at least a useful piano, at least a useful organ, at least a useful violin, at least a useful orchestra. If you want to go to the excruciating pain, we can make a whole show just scrolling through the factory presets of 55. 3 banks. Each bank, I think, is 49 locations, 49 sets,
Well, I think,
or 50 sets
just sorry to
of
interrupt, but
3.
I think every time you do one of these 55 videos, you should do a little section at the end of some presets.
Sure, but
some people
even
come
so,
for that,
we're not gonna run through them.
No, not all of
There
them.
are
But I mean,
shit
like,
ton.
we did some weird ones. Remember, you were showing the names, and I just randomly picked them by name, not knowing what the fuck they were.
We'll do
That
so.
was pretty cool.
Yes, we'll do.
So I think
Yeah.
at the end of every segment,
Yeah.
you should do that, because
Yeah, we'll do
that
so.
way you can.
But my
Make
my
people
point
happy.
is the percentage of actually, I can use this in one of my songs, patches from 55, I would give it a 3%. Everything else is either so wacky or so bizarre
That's good though.
that is totally unusable without editing,
Yeah.
but then you cannot write the factories. Factories are wrong. And that
Can you
goes
copy
three of
them
your
and move them
banks.
somewhere else?
You need to get a duplicate
Yeah.
on the user
Yeah. So you
allocations.
can copy it and then modify it.
Yes.
Okay.
Once you edit, you overwrite the user allocations. But the user allocations is just a little less that the three factory banks combine in spaces.
So factories are fixed. You can't delete them.
No, wrong forever. And it's okay. Let me show this again
I say that's good to know
because
because some things these days, if you delete the factories, they're gone forever unless you back them up. So
no, they're wrong. They're imprint. So can you see this picture good enough?
yeah,
Good. Can you see these three black squares underneath the screen that says
yes,
lead, rhythm, and those are your factory banks. Those are untouchable and useless, mostly useless. All right? Whatever modification to do to them, anything, right? Even if it's just turning something off, goes automatically to the 4 button on the
User,
row
yeah.
that goes user. User holds a little less, if not the same, amount of patches as those three banks combined.
Yeah.
So you basically have the same amount of allocations twice. Trust me, if you start getting creative or specific about your modulations, they run like water.
Yeah.
So the Mark II firmware added, I think, 30 or 50 extra patch locations to both sides, the factory side and the user side, on both modes, on the bass mode and on the guitar mode. But you cannot combine bass mode user patches and guitar mode user patches.
Hey, where's bass mode and guitar mode? I don't think you did. You show that before? How do you switch that?
Reboots. I haven't showed it yet because we haven't started doing the bass versions of the shows, right? So that's why I said at least
So you
3
hold the
to
button down,
6.
reboot, it's some kind of a combo thing.
No. Shut down the unit, reboot back up.
But I mean, you have to do
You
something
change
else.
you change the BIOS. You go into a menu, say, "Hey,
Right.
I want to go to guitar," and says, "Good, turn me off."
Okay.
Turn the unit off, boot it back again, and it will boot on the different section of the what you call it, OS, operating system.
And
That
all
is
the settings
the
are the
base.
same for just for bass.
No. No, because it's the base mode, all the settings are different.
Totally different. Okay. Right.
The engines are the same, they work the same, they get modified the same, but the settings, including the sensitivity to the JK pickup, are totally different, worlds apart.
And that does that have a tracking thing because of that low frequency issue?
Let me tell you a horror story. Let me remove this.
Because we talked about this before, but a standard pitch to MIDI thing starts to fail the lower the frequency, right? So
That's why they made 2 separate hardware firmwares, one for bass, one for guitar, because
the pickup's the same though.
guitar,
The pickup's the same.
no, different pickup. The cable is the same.
So GK3 is what in bass? What's it called?
GK3B,
Just B. Okay, B. All right. And
right?
and it's only
It's
designed for
bigger.
a 4-string bass, or is it also 6
6 string.
Okay. All right.
6 string because it's a 13-pin cable. Because they didn't want to have to build cables with 4 less pins.
No, I just
Or
wondered if
2
they just
less
didn't
pins.
even implement it and maybe made a 4 or something like that. But no, it's fine.
No. They never made a 4. Because they had because the only difference is the location of the magnets of the pickups
Yeah.
and the size, the shear size of the pickup itself, the controller unit is the same.
Because isn't a 4-string bass, the strings a little wider apart than a 6-string bass?
Yes and no. Because there's not one stereotype. There's no
really?
only one
Then how do you get
measure
that pickup
of
to
bass
work?
guitar. Because you can separate it, you can graduate it. On the guitar, you can graduate the arch of the strings. On the
I
bass
see.
guitar, you can graduate the spread of the pickups.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hence, that is a different pickup.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you could do
But
that.
only the pickup.
Yeah.
The wire that connects to the control unit is the same wire. The
Right.
control unit is the same control unit. And the lead, the connection patch cable you use between the unit and the quarter inch on the guitar is the same patch cable. And the cable you use between the control unit and the 55 is the same cable. The only thing different is the part that holds the magnets, the pickup itself.
So you turn like a screw and they slide along?
If this is the pickup, looking at the guitar horizontally,
Yeah.
on the front, you got spreaders for the magnets. The magnets would be basically moving vertically sideways. But you don't really have much because there's not much room, and because the magnet, because it's not volume of sound that it needs. Yes, it's a magnetic pickup, but the electronics attached to it are not the same quality and type that it would be attached if it goes straight into an amplifier or an effects unit, any preamp of any sort. So they got a little more leeway to play around with, less precision, because it's not so crucial that the magnet is right underneath the pickup, the string.
Also, do they have a description of, because your bass can go lower, do not lower it more than this or it won't track well? Do they tell you that?
Worse than that. Once again, back to my horror story. I got a 6-string. Okay, on guitar, you also could, but nobody bothers. You could use round 1 strings, which is all strings have a core, a solid one single wire core.
Yeah.
Usually stainless steel or variations of stainless steel. Very strong is the one. That's the one taking the tension, right? And for weight and vibration, to graduate the frequency, you wind stuff on top of that core.
Yeah. It's like the heavier strings on the guitar. Yeah.
Exactly. On a guitar, to reach those very high pitches for the scale of the guitar, not to breach, right? The only way is to remove all the winding and just use the core of different gauges, because nothing wind can go that high.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why you typically have either 2 and 4 or 3 and 3. Wind. On guitar, you could have round section winding wire or tape section winding tape. That's why you get round ones or flat ones. Flat ones more used lately just basically for jazz, because although it's still a bright tone, it's very dark. Okay, you still have a little bit of metal on the sound when they're fresh, bright, but they have a little less sustain and it's a little dark and it's
So they're
more even.
between a round wound and a nylon, that sound.
Yes,
Okay.
somewhere in between, more on the nylon side,
Okay. Right.
but with magnetic influence for the magnetic pickups.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nylons don't influence magnetic
No.
pickups. They need pressure pickups. Good. On bass, it gets even crazier, because since the amount of winding metal you're going to be using sometimes on extreme cases go up to 3 layers of winding material on top of your core, because there's only so thick you can make the core before the tension it needs to go even to a very low note like a piano will basically collapse the guitar. There's only so thick you can do. Plus, the thicker the core, the smaller the sustain, and the more wiry the tone, the more metallic the tone. Mm-hmm. So it will never sound like a boom. It will sound more like a kong, more like a bell.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't want that on a string instrument, even less an instrument that is trying to replicate an upright bass. Right?
It sounds more like another type of zither, not a guitar, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a different family if you go just solid core or very thick core or whatever.
Yeah.
So, for winding's sake, let's just start for explanation's sake, let's just assume that we're going to have just one wire core and one winding, one layer of winding. You still can choose round section wire to wind that string, tape section wire to tape it, but also you can have tape covered in nylon. So it's metal core for the magnetic vibration, but softened or covered, lacquered in nylon material.
Oh, sounds expensive.
A tenner extra. Tenner on top of flat ones. Flat ones are more expensive.
So who uses a nylon wrapped thing? What's an artist that would use that?
On bass, you don't use... because I went to another. There's another way to get around their sound, and I think I don't know if anybody still gives you the option. You could have, in between the core and the winding, a wrap of nylon and then metal winding on top.
Wow.
You can buy that, or you used to be able to buy that. The ones I have, they're called black nylons because the nylon, the cover, the tape winding on top is black color. When you put it on an electric fretted bass, the type of attack and tone you get is exactly the one of an acoustic upright on an electric fretted, which technically is impossible, right? Or at least the closest thing. And because they're so stiff, you don't really dig inside the frets. So you end up playing more like it's a fretless. Also helps on that. Because the metal tape section winding bass strings sound a little too sweet and dark than black nylons.
Yeah.
As in more, but very melodic with tons of overtones. When the nylon and the acoustic is more like dong, bong, 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 bong.
Yeah.
See, it's all about note length, frequency balance, sustain, all sorts of. So if you think choosing strings for a guitar is a hard job, bass laughs at the face of buying guitar strings. So for all that, on my 6-string, one of the untold truths of the GK world is that with round 1 strings set on a guitar with a GK pickup, the string buzzing fret, the rubbing noise of going from one string to another, if your technique is not clean enough, will mistrigger the MIDI. So you want flat wounds to just play the notes you play, even if you're changing chords. Following that logic, I took my 6-string and I fed it with flat wounds. After 6 months of doing more or less fine, even flat ones, although they have less to lose, even flat ones lose brightness and definition and attack. those flat ones became so sweet, dull, or dark, whatever you want to call it, that the 55 started thinking that on the bottom string, on the B string, the last 5 frets of the neck, from middle neck to the headstock, the 5 last semitones, the lower ones, he would not play them. He will understand that those frequencies so dull, with so little attack and so little brightness, he was understanding them as rumble, as in interference, vibration from the body, not as a note magnetic on the pickup. So he would play every note in the string from I think it was the 7th fret to the body, higher notes, all of them flawless. But that jump to the number 6th fret, mute. I change the strings to round ones, the whole fretboard plays. Even the bass firmware, the bass side of the OS of 55, has a rumble filter. Is set to be lower than the guitar one. That's why technically you cannot plug your bass on the guitar software, because all the filtering, this is not music from the guitar, this is environmental noise filterings are meant to set different. So I never tried it, but in my even chop off on a 6 string, my chop off string and a half. As in, those frequencies are not guitar.
Yeah.
Those frequencies are rumble in the guitar mode. Funny enough, because if you transpose through custom the guitar, you can play the notes corresponding to those frequencies, but the guitar cannot vibrate at those frequencies, otherwise the unit will shut it as rumble.
Yeah.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
And that's what taught me why the latency issue, or where the latency issue comes from. Like I said many times, the problem with the guitar interface is that the unit spends more time, more computer cycles, deciding if what is receiving is music or noise than actually playing the synth. Do I make any sense?
Yeah.
And it's all in a chase of giving you a guitar performance with synthesizer sounds. So you still can trill, you still can tap, you still can bend.
All the string types you talked about earlier are basically useless for this technology. You just want to use a regular bass.
No. You can use flat wounds.
But you just
but
said
only for 3 or 6 months.
Oh, okay. So
when they go old.
So it's only wear and tear. It's not a. Okay.
But the thing is, everybody who buys flat wounds, because you're paying 3 to 5 times more money for a flat wound set that you would pay for a round wound set, you assume that you won't be changing strings at least in a year. Not to mention, according to TikTok, the stupid amount of bass players that have never changed strings since they started playing.
Oh.
It's kind of a tradition. And I could explain why, or what's the reasoning behind it, but to me it's silly.
Well,
Sorry.
What is it?
The fact that when you're on an ensemble, you're in a band, even more if you're in a band with 2 guitar players, or guitar and keyboards, or 2 guitar players and a keyboard, the frequency job of the bass is so low that the high frequencies you lose through the edge of the string, you were filtering them off from the beginning. So you don't even miss them because you never used them. Because the band, the ensemble, does not allow you to use them. So what's the freaking point?
Yeah.
Because one thing that made sense when I tried it, and I put it in context, but in the theory it's mental. Bass players close the tone pod. The tone pod on the guitar is the one that takes
Yeah.
brightness away.
Yeah.
It is like a low pass filter.
Well, unless you're
So
someone like Peter Hook or something like that, right?
who's Peter Cook?
Hook, the from New Order.
Oh, Blue Monday.
Yeah, I mean his he had a lot of tone in his bass.
Yeah, I'm one of the reasons because he was playing on the guitar octave.
Yeah.
A bass guitar, because the length of the scale allows it perfectly, they very often come with 1.5 or 2 octaves per string. So means that beyond the 12th fret towards the body, going higher, you're playing the same notes, although not the same timbre,
Yeah.
the same notes as a guitar. Even more on a 4-string, where your lowest string is the same note as the guitar string, just 1 octave lower. So if you play on the 12, which is E, you're playing the same E that a guitar would play open.
Right.
It's the same frequency. So what that guy did was playing mostly above the 12th fret, because the synth was the one taking the rumble frequencies.
Yeah.
And the only way he found to get him heard was to chop off bass and then crank mids and bright and play roughly around or higher, trebler than 12. Guitar notes, basically. But on a standard, on the most traditional, I mean, 8 out of 10 bass players, they don't high pass, they low pass. They filter the low pass, the bass, to leave more room for everybody who's working on the mid range.
Yeah.
Right hand on the piano, and the synth, all the synths, vocals, guitars, cymbals. So
Also,
if
by
I'm not
playing
using
the
those frequencies,
also by playing those thinner strings, he has more expression, right? So
what do you mean?
it's easier to bend and flex thin strings than the fat strings, right? So he's got more
No,
expression.
no. I mean, it's less muscle effort because the mass of it is smaller, yes.
Yeah.
But the tension, because yes, the bottom strings are thicker, but they're also flabbier
Yeah. Okay.
because you're going lower.
Right. Right. I see.
And because electric bass guitar is only 34 inches a scale instead of 43 inches of the upright bass, even the bottom E of a 4-string is a little too flabby for the note. It's on the verge of
Do you
rubber
te-
band.
Do you tend to get the buzzing though because of that? It's so loose it's going to hit the fret.
Good. That's a very good subject that it took me 2.5 years to learn why, when, and what to do about it. You don't really get buzzing on the bass. What you get is more, I would call it rattling. Only if
But the same phenomenon, it's hitting the fret. So it's
the string is banging, slapping on one of the frets.
yeah.
All right? Some styles are based and depend on that. For instance, thumping and plucking.
Yeah.
They depend on the string banging on the highest fret of the neck. Not to produce a note, but to produce a tank, a percussive,
Yeah.
a metal to metal sound, right? You only get rattling if the guitar is poorly set up. But the problem with bass guitar is setup is not only guitar dependent, but style dependent and player dependent. Playing bass is so physical, so much more physical than playing guitar, that each musician becomes an island. Each person, his physicality, his finger strength, his wrist strength, his arm strength becomes totally worlds apart. So you would set the guitar to the particular player that would play it the particular way for the particular style as he's going to play it.
Hmm.
People, the few bass players that have a huge variety of styles, or their session people, their higher guns that do everything,
Yeah.
they have different guitars per style. One for rock, one for pop, one for jazz, one for blues, because tone, tension, and setup to allow techniques, right?
So you don't get the guys. There's no like Steve Vai bassist where you have double necks and things like that. Are they?
Yeah, yeah. His name is called Billy Sheehan. He started playing. I think he was with Mr. Big professionally worldwide. Then he jumped to David Lee Roth, then Steve Vai, and many others in the meantime. Yeah, there are. In fact, way more. And if you wanna go Vai, as in really Vai, not Satriani or Richie Kotzen, no, Steve Vai on bass, my vote, Victor Wooten. That guy has, it's not that he has some chops. That guy invented the chops. And then made the chops his bitch. And when he did that, then started all over again and rewrote the book about chops.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he has a musical hearing out of playing free jazz all his freaking life, that it's even when he plays the wrong notes, they sound the right notes. That guy is not of this earth.
So he can do
For the little I can understand.
He can do the slap bass. He can do the little fingery bass. He can do all that stuff.
All of it. And then some. And then techniques that bass players wouldn't even dare to try. He wrote the book at this point in 2025. Really, if you want to check impressive bass playing, because one of his gimmicks in some of his bands is to be the Steve Vai of the bass guitar. Victor Wooten. Check Victor Wooten. The other players that play as well or better than him on specific things, but he's the most complete.
Yeah. Speaking of, we were talking about gadgets a while back and stuff. Do you know anyone who plays the bass Gizmotron?
Never heard of.
You know the Gizmotron?
No. Rings a bell, but I've never seen one.
So it uses Tron because it gives a mellotron quality to strings. So there's a guitar version, there's a bass version. It's essentially, well, in the case of a guitar, six little wheels that spin to create a bowing. So it's like an E-bow with contact. And it's designed by Godley and Cream, the musicians, Godley and Cream. And it was like in the early 80s, I think. And they stopped making it for a while, and then there was a resurgence. I think about 10 years ago, they were announcing making new versions of it. So one of my friends who's a bass player was going to get one. I keep forgetting to ask him if he ever bought one. But they had, I don't think it was a Kickstarter, but it was some kind of new run they were going to do of bass and guitar Gizmotrons. And I have yet to see anyone use one in modern stuff, but they were supposedly coming out again with other ones. And I've never seen the old one in use anywhere recently. I've just seen old videos of it. But it's a really clever idea because it gives you that bowing style, but also the kind of slow in and out that a mellotron does because it's a motor, right? And you can vary the motor speed, and you can obviously, bring it in and out per string somehow. I don't know how they do it exactly, but I think it's basically always on while you have it turned on, and then you just engage it with the strings that you want. And
you see, you're going to notice that type of things, that type of contraptions, on every instrument or on any people who tries to bring them up or to apply them, they always find the same road blockage, which is the fact that, first of all, it forces you to work to the a contraption.
which isn't that
The
bad. I mean,
contraption
that's
doesn't work for you.
yeah, but then you don't use it.
You need
Yeah.
to play around it. You need to
But
play to its
but can you
limitations.
actually find an EBO that will move a bass string? Because the EBO is not
Yeah,
that strong.
it is. It is.
Okay, so there are
The
bass players
standard
using EBOs.
Evo, the original Evo can move bass strings,
So who's using that?
light bass strings, but yes.
Who's using the
But
EBO?
once again, on a bass, an Evo on a bass gives you a cello sound,
Yeah,
kind of. How many people wants to use a cello
I don't
sound?
know. That's why I was asking. Who do you know who's actually used one?
The only people I know, I don't mean it's the only people out there, but the only people I know that wants to put a cello sound on an electric musician stage is Apocalyptica.
Hmm.
It's a metal band, heavy metal, thrash metal,
Yeah.
that plays heavy metal tracks on electric cellos
Okay.
with bows.
Is that why you bought electric violin?
Yes, that was one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna pass. Oh, in fact, yeah. Let me do it this way. I found this video by accident again on my feed, and I think you will appreciate. Let's see if I can check if you can open that. And yeah, I mean the bass stuff is it has its own ways, but it's not that the instrument prevents you from using certain techniques, which it kind of does, but it's most about it's a different aesthetic, acoustic aesthetic, and it's a different application within a band. That's why everybody who does really eccentric or really off the beaten path bass applications, they're usually lead or solo
Yeah.
instrumentalists.
This is an Omnichord video, right? Is that what you're showing me?
Yep.
Yeah.
But
No,
listen to what's playing.
no, I know. I love Omnichord stuff. It's great. It's
Yeah, but listen to it.
I did, but I didn't quite recognize it. What is it?
Keep listening.
Oh, I stopped it because you were talking. So
No. Just it's really short. I think it's 2 minutes. Just listen it. I mean, it's funny to me, but maybe to you,
oh, is
it's
it
not.
Gorillas? Yeah, Clint Eastwood.
Is the proven footage of how they did Clint Eastwood.
Oh, really?
It's yeah. That's exactly how they did it.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
They had an omnichord. I think the singer had an omnichord and playing around
Oh,
with
they have.
it.
If you look at Damon Albarn's storage room on
Hmm.
YouTube videos behind the scenes, they have everything.
Okay.
Go
Do
look at
they?
Damon Albarn's tour of his studio. They have a room they go
Wow.
into with shelving all over the place and cubby holes and stuff.
Hmm.
And he's pulling stuff out. Check this out. Check this out. The little bit of every wacky thing you've ever seen.
Hmm.
They have synth, MIDI controllers, weird devices, all kinds of stuff.
Any toy he gets his hands on it,
Well, because
he
they can
plays for a
afford it,
while
and
at
because
least.
they've been around for a long time, so they just come across it and put it in storage.
And I don't know what's the business in the States, but I got what I got because used market in UK works astonishingly well. Saying it's you
Well, I
find
mean,
ninety five percent of everything.
more than half the stuff, probably 80% of the stuff I have at one point was used because I can't afford new. You can't find this stuff new anymore. It's discontinued, or it's incredibly rare, or it's
All of the
whatever.
above.
Yeah. So I
Give me
mean,
a second.
you just got to be lucky and find one that works. Yeah. But I love the omnichords. I mean, I have several of them, the MIDI ones, because I prefer the MIDI versus the older analog ones because you
Hmm.
can do that strum plate thing and you can have fun with it,
Hmm.
controlling other things, and you can turn off everything and just use the
Hmm.
chords and the strum plate to drive your sequences. You don't have to use any cheesy rhythms or bass lines or that kind of stuff. You can just do it for the chords. And there's
Cool.
also I don't have my iPad out. It's put away, but there's
Oh,
several
there's an iPad version.
iPad apps. So one I think it's discontinued now, but it's called Chordion.
Uh-huh.
and it looks has a
Cool.
little strum area like omnichord, and it has a little keys you press. In this case, they made it look more like the X, the Axis X was it XQ49, whatever it's called, the hexagonal isotonic keyboard, where it's like a honeycomb
Mm-hmm.
with a bunch of hexagons,
Okay.
and so you just fire
Mm-hmm.
off the chord that you want based on
Not
the.
familiar.
It's they call it isomorphic keyboard. So you make
Because you can
shapes
change,
and
move
you
the
move the
form.
shapes around, universal shapes around
Yeah.
the hexagonal keyboard.
Yeah.
So like a lot
It's
of
trying to follow the guitar thing that one shape just moved around
basically, yeah. So
is the
they're doing
same
that with
type of
yeah,
chord.
microtonal instruments are doing that now,
Mm,
and other kinds of stuff. So you can just experiment more. It's not about learning all these esoteric shapes. It's
yeah,
learning basic
it's
chords and
pushing
then
the
just
envelope.
performing. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's fun,
cool.
but it's again, it's another thing to learn. So if you don't practice it, you'll forget it. But
Yeah, tell me about it.
yeah,
So we're on a funny place right now because we should stop now.
yeah,
We should, but have we ever done what we should? No.
no.
So
You talking with GR-55 or with what?
no, the show is over. We've been 2 hours. It's gone.
Yeah,
The show is
yeah.
over. So, unless you have something you want me to show you, I think we're gonna call it quits.
Um,
And as in within 55, or if you want me to go really fast, at least to one of the or two of the points I wanted to do today. There's one I've been wanting to do for the past 4 shows because it was a question that it was made to me one of the shows you missed, but I missed the question until the guy who asked it wasn't there anymore because
oh,
I was with my screens blocking stuff. I didn't read it
yeah.
on time. I did kind of answer to the question on that show, and I tried again on the next show, but I want to show it in action,
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
which
if you
is
have it set up,
the
show it.
implement.
Yeah,
It is pretty much set up. It
yeah.
will take just 5 more minutes, which is basically the implementation that the 55, I assume, like many other uh, late 90s or noughties and 10s, Roland synthesizers did of the hold function, right? Because on any keyboard that is trying to go the Rompler way, it's either gonna give you sustain or sostenuto. Two of them, that's it. As in, sustain will hold everything you played, keep pressing keys, keep holding until the decay of the note would die.
Hmm.
And sostenuto, which you would play a chord, press the pedal, and that chord alone will hold until you release the pedal. That's the two applications, the most common that almost every synth has, well, it's had in the past 30 years.
Hmm.
And yes, I said 30 years because we're in 2025.
Yeah.
So yeah. But funny enough, and what I understand, for one reason that's exactly the question I was made. 55 decided to implement 4 types instead of the 2. So let me see if I can do this and this. But now I need to go here. I'm gonna go away for a minute. And I think it's here. So, have we changed the page?
Yes.
Good. So, this section of the manual is talking about the things you can do with the pedal. Well, it says GK controller, which is basically the things you would typically handle with your foot, which is the rocker pedal and the CTL pedal that I showed first in
Hmm.
the show, which is the only 2 foot access that you have to whatever's inside. But then it shows this.
We have those other pedals next to it. What is it? 1, 2, 3. What are those?
Let me show. Okay, let me show you, because you came late, and I'm a good boy.
Oh.
So this. So this is 55,
1, 2, 3.
right?
What's the 1, 2, 3 again? What's that?
Direct access to patches.
Okay, right. Oh, presets.
Because
What do you like your favorite presets?
Factories or users, it's indifferent. So first you go to sound style and you choose your bank. Factories, lead, rhythm, or other, or go to the user bank, which is all together. And in fact, from factory, I think comes with duplicates of lead, rhythm, and other, right? Once you're in the bank, in the family, in the style, because it gets more complex, then you have banks of 3 patches, right? That's why the most common use of the 2 buttons on the control unit on your guitar is what I set them to do, which is bank up, bank down. Basically, you're scrolling patches in 3s.
But how do you choose sound style without having a foot to push it? It's these tiny little switches.
You don't. You can't.
Ah.
Either you trigger through MIDI externally, or you bend down and do it.
Nice.
Yeah. Or if you keep scrolling, once you you finish lead, it will start rhythm.
Okay.
But you need to scroll all the banks.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And when you finish rhythm, you start other.
Yeah.
Same thing from other to user.
Okay.
And same thing, I think it cycles back from user to lead. But it's not fun because we're talking about, I think it's 50 banks of 3 patches per button.
Right.
So user is 3 times 50 banks of 3 patches.
So like you said, it's not friendly to...
No. But once again, they kind of give for granted that you're going to be connecting this to a laptop sequencer. And it's going to be triggering all your patches. That's one way. You can set or waste foot controllers to do patch selecting. Or you can assign the buttons on the GK could go bank up, so could go patch up, bank up, or style up. Or you just put them in order in user and you just go patch up. Next, which is what you have to do if you can't, because you can't, use the freaking factories because they're useless.
So you're basically building a set list every time you want to go out.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why the only software they gave you was a library, a librarian software to bulk load and move around your patches, not to edit the patches. They didn't bother giving you that. So foot-wise, you have the pedalless CTL, which is a wildcard, assignable. The rocker pedal, which has 2 modes, as in because it has a button underneath the rocker pedal.
The top, you had if you for a switch, yeah.
What says expression pedal switch on off.
Yeah.
There's a little arrow, and that circle is an LED. It will tell you if the switch is on or off. If you assign it to tell you, because you could have it switching on and off, but the LED not showing is one of the parameters you have to set if you want the LED to tell you or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. In some things they go so anal in detail, and other things they just gloss over. The 55 is all over the place.
Right.
So those 1, 2, 3, once you're in playing patches, is gonna be on the bank of 3 patches you are, right? Is gonna be straight access to one of those 3 patches. Because let's say that your song starts in 1, but then the bridge is in 3, but the chorus is in 2. So that jump 1, 2, 3 is a 2-click that might not be able on a fast-paced piece to play. You won't have your foot, or you won't have your hands to do it. So you need at least 3 banks spread direct access. So if you press 1 and 2 at the same time, which is already a skill you have to develop, then 1 and 2 becomes bank down and bank up, as in chunks of 3 banks that you can scroll through with 1 and 2. To get out of there, you need to press 1 and 2 again to get out, to going back to have 1, 2, and 3 to be patches 1, 2, and 3 in the bank. If you press 2 and 3 together, it will trigger your tuner. The whole screen becomes a tuner, which you can configure if it's going to be a polyphonic tuner or a monophonic tuner.
Yeah.
Okay? Because it's taking the signal from the hexaphonic pickup, doing polyphonic tuning is a piece of piss. What TC Electronics did was way more impressive because they got the same functionality with higher accuracy out of the guitar quarter inch single signal. They give you polyphonic tuning. And they also did it with a clip-on version of the tuner for your headstock. It was so at the same time that this was released, so this felt a little bit like, you can do polyphonic tuning. Yeah, but you have 6 pickups. So you're doing monophonic tuning on 6 different pickups at the same time. Where's the challenge in that? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So 2 and 3 together gives you the tuner. To go back, once again, 2 and 3 together. Or one, or yeah, I think it's both together. Then 3 and control together will open the phrase looper. I think it's more like a sound on sound type of sampler, as in you can record, play back, play on top, and not record, then play some more and record on top, a little bit a la Mark Reviet, that you keep building up and up and up and up, but
Like
you
the
cannot
505,
undo.
Yeah. Right.
No, the 505 can undo and can mute tracks.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
This is one single stereo track, and you just build up. The minute you stop it, it's gone. See what I mean? Some things so anal, and some things like this, because they want to sell you a 505. So they just give you the hint of what you could accomplish, and I think it's like 30 seconds in monophonic, 16 or 24, or yeah, I think it's 16 beats in monophonic. They give you 30 seconds. From there, you start splitting in halves. If you want 24, the time goes in half. If you want stereo, the time goes in half again. So it's more like, oh yes, I want to a very small riff to get repeated all the song through. That's the real utility of it.
Yeah.
And then, if you don't have a USB cable plugged on the top where it says computer, because if you do so, it won't allow what I'm going to tell you now. And the button that says, that's on top of the word of the letters GR, says audio player USB memory. See that button there?
Yeah.
If that one is pressed and no USB is plugged on the top, it will grant you access to the USB connection on the side, on the far leftmost side of the unit. There's a trap door that will, I showed you before, but I'm reminding you, there's a trap door for a USB thumb that will play only WAV files, and only if they're not in folders. See what I mean? Some things they don't bother. And I think either only plays 24-bit 16, or it only goes to 44/1 16, and I think only goes to 48 24, highest bit rate, quality, and bit depth.
By the way, which part of that answered the guy's question? I don't remember what the question was.
No, we haven't get to yet.
Oh, okay.
Because you asked about the stomp pedals, what they do. That's what I'm telling you. So if the audio player is pressed, you have no computer connected to the USB on the top, and the thumb drive is inside the latch, the hatch. With the control pedal, you can turn on the audio player, which changes the whole screen, showing you a scrolling list of the songs you have in the thumb drive, and converting 1, 2, and 3 into, I think it's play, stop, and possibly pause. So controllers, how you call it? Not traction, not motion, transport controllers for the playback of the track. So you can control it real time. Okay, so back to the question. So now I need to change the page back to where it was. We go to the hold and intro. So they implement the hold that can only be used with the controller. I think only with the controller. I'm not sure you can trigger externally. We're going to check in a minute. So only the CTL pedal will allow you to trigger the hold functionality, which gives you 4 options, which is the 4 hold types. That's what. Just notice that they don't call it sustain, okay? Because the different digital Rumpler type hold of the sound. First one, notes that were sounding where you when you press the pedal will held, and successive notes that are played while you continue holding down the pedal will also be held. Basically, so this is a sustained functionality so far, but then says this differs from hold type 4, we will see later, in that if a note is already sounding on the same string, the previous note will be silenced. So basically it's telling you that it's a sustain, but because it's working on 6 individual synthesizer voices, you can transpose the pitch of the voice and it would hold the next note. So if on your E string you're playing a G, and then you on the same string you press the F, it won't stop playing because the G is gone. It will keep playing the F.
That's like the sostenuto, right? That's the
No, well, the way I understand sostenuto is the one that you play a chord and it would only hold the notes of the chord. You can keep playing on top, but whatever you play on top will not be held.
Right.
Just the chord when you press the pedal, and when you release the pedal, goes back to, which is, I think that is the 4 type. So type 2, notes that were sounding when you press the pedal will be held as long as you continue holding down the pedal. Notes played after you started holding on the pedal will not sound. Why would anybody need this? Okay, let me remind you that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, and let me explain you. Once again, I haven't been told this. This is how I understand it, reading between the lines. Remember that 55 is a 4 parts multi-timbral system. Okay, 2 PCMs, custom modeling, and original guitar. Why would you want to hold the notes you were playing already, but nothing else? Because one of the layers, let's say, is a string section, right? So you start your song playing an A chord. Then you press your hold, and the string section, only one of the layers, because you can assign the hold to, I think the hold is only applicable to the synth engine. We're going to put that to the test, but it's only applicable to the PCM sounds. So it would hold the A chord on the string section, and nothing else. You will keep playing with the other 3 parts, the other PCM, the modeling, and the guitar, will not affect the string sound, which will remain on the A chord as long as you hold it. So it would auto-mute the layer of sound you don't want to change. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then the third type, notes that were sounding when you press the pedal will be held as long as you continue holding down the pedal. Same thing. Notes played after you started holding down the pedal will sound but not be held. This is the opposite effect. You want with the same sound, let's say it's an organ, you want the left hand of the organ player to hold the chord, while the right hand of the organ player plays the riffs or the leads or the melody on top. So your first action is to play a chord, hold it with your foot, and then put your hands to work on the melody on top with the same sound. Following so far?
Mm-hmm.
Good. And the last one, 4. Notes that were sounding when you press the pedal will be held, and successive notes that are played while you continue holding down the pedal will also be held, which is the sustain that everybody knows. The more you play, the more you pile up. And they only die when the actual voice of the sound dies. Or you change it. A little bit like a very long, a very high level feedback delay. It will keep repeating or holding the sound until you stop, and if you play another note, just adds the note on top until, you know what I mean. The one we all know on keyboards.
Right.
So that is what I would like to put to test, because some of these, for instance, type 2 is extremely useful for making useful a family of sounds inside 55 that otherwise would be useless. So what it would be a con becomes a pro because just of this implementation of the hold type. All right? Let's get sounding, shall we? And let's remove this and share this instead.
Now, is that what that guy was talking about, or what was the? Again?
Basically, that guy, because the family I'm talking about is on top of percussion sounds, including one of the sounds, well, I think it's 4 or 5 drum maps, as in you have a drum kit on the notes of the fretboard. You also have a family which is, I need to read again what's the title, which is actual rhythms, as in loops, full feature, sometimes with more than just percussion sounds. But the problem with those loops are because they're fashioned on a almost Fairlight way. Each key not only changes the pitch of the sounds, but because the pitch it's by playback speed,
Right.
you're changing the tempo. So how many tempos can you play a loop in the same song?
Yeah.
Typically 1. 2 if you go double. 3 if you go double and half. 3 notes out of, I don't know, 6 times 24. What's that, 300? Take half of it because of duplicates. But out of 24 frets string junctions, or 300, you get only 3 useful of them for the song you're playing at the speed you're playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome if your drummer is unstable and keeps changing the speed. Then you keep changing the note to match. But apart from that, once you get the speed, you want to stay on that speed. That's when the hold function becomes gold. And what I'm trying to do is to share my screen once again. Okay, I need to stop this one first. Okay, stop it. Just more time doing things. Share screen, window, and we go to our beloved editor from which I always want, because I always want to honor. No, not this one. Sorry. Not this one. I think it's about, it's in help, it's in about. That's the one. But you can't see this one. Damn it. So can I share to put it, at least if I put it on every show, I hope that somebody would stop screen and share again. It's nice that they put an extra box to do sharing faster. Share screen, yes. Go to the window. Go to entire screen then. This one, share. Yeah. And there it goes. Yeah, so, and I'm gonna remove us. How do I do this? There. So you can read that this thing was made by Gowntown Basement Yahoo.com at Yahoo.com. So this is the wonderful, wonderful human being who developed this and many other Boss and Roland product editors that we're using, and everybody should get and just at least buy him a beer because of all the effort and the wonderful job he did. And he does, because he's been updating this software ever since I got it like 7 years ago. So he's still at it. And he doesn't ask for extra on every update. You should, but he doesn't
What
ask
does he
for it.
what does he charge initially? What is it?
It's donationware, whatever you choose.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have a price. But as I said, at least, come on, a beer or 2 or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Because trust me, it's, although this 55 itself came on the trail of all the editors he did for all the units, as in he already had crack how to do it. 55, because of the sheer complexity and the multi layers and the stuff, it takes just designing the interface. It's a mind bender to try to put graphically what is just level after level of menu inside nested menus and nested menus.
Sure.
Really. So, first thing, I'm gonna get the guitar. We're gonna get one sound. Sorry for the bumping. So, do we have... Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Can you hear this?
Yeah. Little hot, but yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, let me see. Now I need to start multi-screening. Sorry, and mumbling is the big fault. So why am I so hard? What am I looking for? This. I'm looking for this. No, it's not this. Therefore, is this. Let's just get it a little cooler so it doesn't clip. Okay, we're gonna change the sound anyway to explain all this. So let's get here. So you saw my mixer there, right?
I did.
That's the potato.
Potato, that's it, yeah. But there's a one called banana too, right? There's no one.
It's the same one, it's just less channels.
Yeah.
So they have the a 2-channel, they got a 3-channel, a 5-channel, and an 8-channel version. Although they don't charge you extra for the more channels.
Yeah.
But sorry, yes, they do, but it's a stupidly small difference.
I
But
thought one
also
was
with
free.
more,
Isn't one free?
they're all free as in NAGware.
Oh.
You can evaluate forever, but every often or every time you open it, they will nag you. Oh, are you still trying? Sure. Yes,
Right.
keep trying, but please buy a license. But even so, they offer you 3 tiers. You can have, I barely use a tier, I usually now and I'm a professional, I use it all the time tier for all 3 of them.
Yeah.
So you get to choose. It's a very flexible. But the thing is, the more channel, the potato, which is the fully feature, that's so much more shit. It's like a whole broadcasting studio inside that. That's why it's taking me so long to master it. Because it handles physical connections, virtual connections. It handles 4 types of audio drivers at the same time. That mixer handles MME, WDM, a third one, and ASIO. And you can combine them almost as you please. And also have so many shit. It's so powerful. It's not that it works bad. The problem is it's so vast to understand and to master that it's taking me too long. Because I only have so much time. Good. So
Sure.
let's go for the one of the PCMs, and let me first show you. First I'm gonna every time I turn my head around, does it drop too much the volume? Because it does on my headphones.
Right now or when you're playing?
When I talk to the other side, is the volume dropping too much?
I don't think so. Go back again.
So when I'm looking at my second screen, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Then I'm gonna do that. So first I'm gonna do, let's show you what is the problem I'm talking about and the question. What was the question about? So if we go to the families of sounds, very much at the bottom. After the synthesizers, yeah, there are tons of them, a little too much. Okay. I don't think it's one of this that says sequence. Let me first turn off anything but this. So modeling out, modeling out, synth 2 out. I'm turning off the other 3 engines basically, and I'm sticking to this one, which sounds like so. Right. Okay. Must be the settings. This is really silly. What about this one? Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. They're too short. Is the type of sound you would assign to a MIDI sequencer. But
Yeah.
since you can do that in this unit, I don't know why they put it here and what's the intended use. So let's try to find the one I'm talking about. This one says beat and groove, okay? Because down you have hits, which is, well, more like, yeah, hits, sound effects, and then you have actual percussion, individual sounds, but then you have drums, which is a full drum kit. Let's I don't know, hip hop kit. So this basically is gonna be assigned each note. Oops, is it changing? Oh no, okay. Can you hear it? Because
Yeah, no,
I can hear.
yeah, I can hear it. I mean,
It's very
I'm
faint,
hearing your
isn't it?
guitar and your drums. No, it's not. It's not faint.
The synth is loud enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, if you do something silly like this, cada note is like on a keyboard. Each key would be a
Yeah.
different
Sure.
piece of the drum
The
kit.
drum kit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is exactly the way I did the drum beat for the opening theme of the show.
Okay.
Okay, by playing strings, and because of the transposition, you kind of have a little leeway on remapping where do you want the sounds, because you're basically reassigning a different MIDI note number to the same fret. Do that make any sense?
Can you get? Is it just on off, or can you actually get attack? Or can you get like velocity equivalent?
E-
No, it's just flat.
Technically, you can, but then it's down to the type of key, the setting up of the filter and the attack, the TBA and the TBF. Because I'm building on top of a pre-existing patch, I don't know what the settings of the whole engine
Right.
are.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they're possibly fighting my performance, but you kind of can.
No, they're flat. The velocities are all flat. Um,
Okay.
but when you go to a PCM synth that's not a drum, you get that velocity, right?
Let me check if it's in the editing.
You should. Otherwise,
So,
it's not really expressive like it should be. It's
oh yeah. But once again, if the drum kit is part of
it
a
may
bigger
not.
ensemble that you're playing
Yeah,
at the same time, you might not want.
you
But
may not
let
want,
me
but you
check
may
the
not be able
TBA.
to. Also, depending how they set it up.
I'm finding all of it grayed out
Yeah, it may not allow you to with that drum setting.
because it says that it's set by the patch. But that's what I'm editing. I'm editing the patch. Okay, I don't think we have the time. That is possibly something I need to reset in system
Yeah,
or in
check on that and
master.
see if it's even possible. I mean, if it's possible for PCM samples of strings that you're playing on the guitar that you need, excuse me, you need expression, then I would hope the drums could do it as well. But maybe possible, maybe they turned it off for drum sounds. Like if you want to do some kind of a drum roll or a flam equivalent or
Yeah.
something like that. You just get that machine gun sound if you can't vary
Hmm. No, I don't
vary the
think it's
velocity.
system. Wait, control, expression. No, this is hardware. Guitar audio. No. Huh. Okay, I don't remember last time I found these settings like this. Pitch. Okay. Hmm. I'm gonna have to get to you back to you
That's fine. I
because I
mean,
don't know
it
why
may
it's
not
not
be
popping
possible,
up.
but it'd be worth looking into if you
No,
can.
it
Because
is. Trust me, it is. It's one of the things you can do. You can set this as the TVA to follow the dynamics of your plugin or to be set hard setup so it doesn't vary because you might want that.
but at the same
And that
time,
and I think
now you're showing how hard it is to do that. So maybe it's not so much fun to do that.
and this is with the editor. Think about with the unit.
Yeah.
No, it's not that hard. It's just that I don't remember, and my brain is not joining the right dots. Where do I need to go? Because basically, on a higher level of priority, I tell to block all those controls on
Right.
the inside levels. I just don't
Okay.
remember where is that.
Okay.
So let me go back to the point I'm trying to make, which is the beat and groove, which is good that it's not going to have dynamics. So I'll play any note. Okay. It's a whole beat. But if I try to play other note, let alone that you might want to play a chord, it goes bonkers.
It's a hot mess. Yeah.
Because you can hear the different speeds trying to play at the same time,
Yeah.
right?
And were you
So
trying to show the hold
no,
function
I'm
of
trying to
it
show
or
the
the
problem. This is the problem that yes, you could. One of the ways to work around it is, for instance, says, okay, sorted. I just want a bass rhythm to go over whatever I'm going to be playing.
yeah.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm
Like
going to
a
go
like a
to
typical
this.
preset on a synth that has the layering where you like on a I mean, Access Virus does this. At least as Micron does this. You one key is designed to start a sequence like a loop,
Hmm.
and you could still play over it, but that initial hit started that,
Yes.
and it's like whatever, and then there's some other zones set up with your
Hmm.
MIDI note range to
Hmm.
fire off other things.
Hmm.
So and within one patch you can do all this like a whole song basically.
Yeah, that would be MIDI splitting,
Yeah,
basically,
split
to
and
assign
layers and yeah,
different MIDI numbers, MIDI
yeah,
note numbers to different voices.
yeah,
What you can do here is kind of, but by the means of turning off the strings.
yeah.
And you do it here, it says a string level. Uh, Good. So let's say that I only want to use the slow-ish, which is basically the bottom, the bassy strings of the guitar. So first thing I can do is to turn off by the means of turning down the volume of the voice assigned to the string. Okay?
Right.
So for this particular sound, I will get notes in this string, but not these ones.
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm wondering why is the...
We can also set it where no matter what string you hit after the initial note, it won't re-trigger and kill that rhythm. Right?
No, you can't. Not in 55.
What?
Haha. That's the problem. That's why I'm trying to show the solution.
Wow. Okay.
So, the solution for that. So first, obviously, I need to go to pedal. I need to go to control. Can you see my pointer? Yes. I need to turn that the control pedal is going to do some work. I need to turn it on. Yeah. It's already doing hold, which is kind of the default in many patches, the default use of the control pedal, the CTL pedal in the unit. But then I need to choose my type, right? Mm-hmm. So what I want is type 1 is gonna hold the note as long as I press down, but it's gonna not play nothing afterwards. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is gonna get tricky because I'm gonna try to do it. Problem is, because this only can do by the pedal, I have to do it with my foot. And I'm in the wrong business for this. Okay, let me see the final setup.
That's why you need a DB, man, so you can use your head with the DB.
Or be able to assign it to the buttons on the guitar, which I'm not sure you can. That could be another shortcomings of 55.
Well, you can assign it to the pickup, I thought, right? Aren't there 2 buttons on the pickup?
That's what I mean. I don't think you can.
What?
The whole function can only be triggered by the control pedal. I think. I'm 90% sure of that. So, what I'm doing here are in pedal GK, which is almost on a patch level. It's not a patch level, it's more like a mode level, as in the guitar level, but not for everyone. Am I right on that? No, this is general for the whole unit. No, wait, no, this is patch related, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's patch related. So I'm telling that the control pedal is going to do something. That's the big blobby orange. What it's going to do is going to do hold. And the type of hold is going to do 1. So hold whatever I was playing already, but nothing else. The type of action, I can choose latch or momentary. Means latch, 1 hit, turns on and holds, and I can run around the stage, even it would hold it. Or momentary, only while my foot is on the pedal. Let's try latching. Then, and that's why I think it's only applicable to the PCM engines, you need to tell to which one of the engines is it going to be applied. Means that per patch you can only choose, you only can make one choice. You cannot change it mid-song without changing the patch. See how you can start running out of patch locations very quickly?
Yeah.
So if you want the same set of sounds, but for half of the song you want to hold the PCM1, and for the second half you want to hold only PCM2, that is going to take you 2 patches. Funny, huh? Cool. So in this case, I'm working on PCM1, so I don't need it to do anything to PCM2. And now let's see if it works. First of all, if I can reach the pedal. I'm not a tall guy, so my legs are fairly short. So let's go for this speed. Okay, it's holding.
Because you're holding the pedal.
No.
Oh, it's a
It's
latch.
latched.
All right, okay.
I set it on latch. If I put it in momentary, then I would have to hold my leg on an awkward position for. But you see, now suddenly I have a backing track. Now I want to work with that on the back. Hence the backing track, right? But obviously the problem is, if you look at the screen, the only on the top row of orange lights, the only one on is the one that is using the loop.
Yeah.
So I don't have any other sound coming out. At least I shouldn't, because I was hearing something weird before.
So if you
right?
re-trigger one of the strings, nothing changes on the rhythm.
So let's go. Remember that only the bottom, the top strings, the bassier strings, which are on the top of the neck, right, but on the bottom of the pitch spectrum, are the only two that would play that loop. So even if I go very high,
That's double triggering.
it added it. So I took the type of hold wrongly. I forgot what is the one that doesn't end up. So it's probably type 2. Let's get back to it. Let's fix that. So first of all, unlatch it. Now it's when I can get a cramp. Let's unlatch it.
That was like a sped up version of "This is what you want, this is what you get, this is what you want."
Exactly.
PIL. Yeah.
So we go, sorry, once again, pedal GK. Let's try type 2. Okay, only to PCM1. Only PCM1 is sounding. So I don't know why it's playing all the notes apart from the loop. Probably it's inbuilt, I don't know. I haven't spent time enough to tell. So, once again, I play normally. I got my loop. I latch it. No hands, mom. And now if I try to play another note from another string, that would play it. Should not. The which is the loop is not being piled up, is not generated, but the sound that is on top.
Can't you get to re-trigger though?
Because it's held on its own tempo. But that is exactly what we want.
Well, sometimes you want to
Otherwise,
re-trigger, as long as you trigger on the beat. But
if you want to be re-triggering often, first you set the pedal on momentary, and you hold it for some bars, release, trigger the next one, on time with obviously another clock source, an acoustic clock source like a drummer or a second beat maker, right? But this is what you could do with these families of beats and loops, which otherwise would be useless because you would be piling up speeds and tempos. So I still can play a melody. See, and that's why it makes no sense, because what's the word with this? Where's the sound of the guitar coming from? I don't know, because I've never, and it sounds like there's a delay to it.
And this was the guy's question, right, about the rhythm backing track thing? Right.
If you could play rhythms while you play something on top.
Okay.
This is the only way. With the percussion instruments, because you get basically different pitches of the same cymbal through the headstock. No. Those are more like for accents. And,
so if you want to have one loop on one string, another loop on another, and you switch between them to get variety, you'd have to use a momentary.
If you mean different beats, you need to burn.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well,
These
you
are
could if you-
loops, are preset loops.
I know, but if you could fire a separate one from a different string, and then you can alternate.
You could do is to burn the second PCM for another one. Want me to?
Try, yeah.
So we go to the second PCM, turn it on. Let's choose another beat and loop. Beat and groove. Juno Pop. Okay. And I'm gonna use a different pair of strings. So in the volume, I'm still gonna get these two out. But then the ones that are using the beat you're hearing right now are not gonna trigger this groove, right?
Yeah.
So now I need to go back to pedal, and now I'm gonna tell it, because I'm gonna play either or. Okay, this is just ahead planning. What I have to do first of all, unlatch it. There. And now I can set up the whole function to apply to both. Right?
Yep.
And once I do that, without latching, so I got, okay, the same beat in two strings, and it's a fourth different. But if I go an octave, so this is one note. Can you feel the speed? Really, in my side, this is very faint. Are you sure this is coming strong to your side?
The wacky sound is strong. Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay.
That little thing.
No, the rhythmic ones, the rhythm, the groove. So
Now
if
it's
I go
lower.
to,
Now I don't hear the
Alright.
rhythm part, unless that was part of it.
that's
there.
what I mean.
But I was
The new
hearing
one,
before.
because it's so basic.
Yeah.
So let me tweak that. Let's get this back where it was. A little more? Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
faint. Let's do it the hard way. Sorry. Sadly, there I triggered two strings basically, because I'm not holding. Now I can play them all at the same time. I can do a chord if I wish. But it sounds like shit basically. So the new one is this. But if I go an octave higher, see that the speed of the loop changes. It's very reminiscent to the pitch, so it's kind of okay. But if you try to play them at the same time, is when it gets unwieldy, basically. This is weird. Why is it louder? It's gone quieter. Why the heck?
I don't know.
Why is it gone quieter? Too many shit for one little brain. Wait, I know why. I turned the compressor off. No. As I said, come for the information, stay for the train wreck.
Well, you can't always be
Ton of
perfect, right?
amusement.
So
Yeah, I turned the compressor off. That's why it went quieter. Okay, so together, see how it wobbles? And that's just a fifth. That should be fairly close and fairly nice to each other. But if you go anything beyond it, it gets
It's perfect for Noisevember. You can make a Noisevember track with that. So
hell yeah. This is a noise machine, trust me. Okay, let me get back to this. Get back to the show. Come on. What now? I hate computers and they hate me back. That's a fact of life. Gotcha. So now with the hold, I can hold either or. I need to be careful because I'll be able to hold both sounds at the same time. So I can play two of them. Well, in fact, I can play all four of them if I wish, but that's pointless. So let's start with one. Then I latch. Which is giving me a variation, and I don't know why. Possibly because it has mistriggered the other one. Accidentally, I trigger the other string. That's why it added to the original beat, which in fact not too bad. But let's just take one at a time. So, one. Latching. With the same sound, I can keep doing. And the rhythm stays on the same speed. Now, I stop playing, unlatch, trigger, sorry, latch, with the same sound, as in with the same strings, it won't hold. And because I didn't play beforehand, it should not play the other strings. And it doesn't. It doesn't play the loop. As I said, I'm totally clueless why that guitar sound is coming from. I tell you, totally clueless. Unless...
Well,
the only explanation.
At least you can see it in... The settings are somewhere, so it is a possible thing. You just gotta find it.
No, the possible setting is that I set the guitar, the magnetic pickup, the standard pickup, I set it to go through the guitar out on the hardware.
Turn the GR down a bit, it's stepping over your vocal.
Yeah, that's gonna be harder. It's gonna be easier to do this.
There you go, yeah.
Cool. Because I think my setup is to send the magnetic pickup out of the guitar out connector, the jack. Yeah. And I'm not using the hardware outputs now. I think it's blending all three outputs, left, right, and guitar out, through the USB. And that's why we're hearing the original guitar through the effects assigned to it. No, through the effects I think that I have insert in the mixer. I think that's the thing. And I cannot split it because it's coming through the same USB to the same mixer channel. I think that's going to be the explanation. And to prove that, this is going to be a test. So let's get a rhythm. No, that's not work. So that's not it. Jeez, now I have another mystery to unveil. Great. Not good, but you see, it gets a little, for this, instead of setting the CTL pedal to latching, I would set it to momentary and just hold it for as many bars as I want this loop, and then stop and re-trigger fast enough, gracefully,
Yeah.
to get the other one running and hold it again. But you see, I cannot, because this is hardwired to the control pedal, and the options are is either one PCM or both PCMs. So either or both, either off or on. I cannot set the control pedal to have PCM holding on momentary and PCM2 holding on latching. Because let's say, yes, the intro of the song is loop 1. Let me unlatch this again. I want to do the intro of the song with loop 1, but it's just going to be 4 bars or 6 bars or 8 bars or whatever. Very short thing. But then when I go to PCM2, because that's going to be the whole verse, I just want to latch it and run away from the pedal board.
Yeah.
I can't do that. For that, I need to change to a different patch.
Yeah, I would just say use GR-55 with a proper looper, so RC505 or something like that.
Exactly. No, and wait, and that is when it gets even crazier, because this is not the looper.
Yeah.
On top of that, I could take this performance I've been doing right now by hand and then loop it in the phrase looper, and then have that totally independent, so I can go to a completely different patch with different sounds and no loops and play with those patches on top of what is recorded.
I just don't like that phrase looper and some of the settings where you have to trigger 2 buttons with your foot. It's very easy to not trigger 2 and then screw everything up. So
Yep.
I understand why they did it to save space, but it's a bad design.
Yeah. But wait, it gets even worse. Let me get back to us. You need to press both pedals to open the function.
Just to open it, yeah. Sure. Right.
To play, pause, and overdub is about of tip, double tip, long tip, tip tip.
Oh, that's dumb. Yeah, that's.
Basically, they're telling you, yes, there's a wall out there called looping, but this is going to make you hate it. Mm-hmm. So buy the real thing.
Yeah.
Roller mentality.
Yeah.
I call it the Barbie doll universe. We give you the doll, but you will have to buy the dresses and the car and the can.
I mean,
and the...
they are, because people bitch about a big, heavy object, and maybe it's bigger, it costs more, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, then you get what you pay for. You wanted a small, compact unit, easy to take to gigs. You're going to lose all that functionality.
You want it cheap.
Yeah, cheap and compact. So,
because once again, 2 synth engines, 1 modeling, 1 effects processing, 1 backtrack player, 1 looper, all for under $1,000.
Have you seen the RC300?
I probably have.
RC50. So it's the RC505 in a slightly longer package, all metal case because it's stompable, right? So it has these same buttons on it, and even has the
because I believe the 50 was first as a stompable unit, as an evolution
of the
looper pedal.
There's a 50 and there's a 5.
And the 505,
the 500 I think has an actual pedal. I think there's one that actually has an actual
possibly, pedal. But as I said, trying to follow Roland naming convention, the 505, I think it was the tabletop, push it with your hands version
of the
50.
Exactly, yeah. But
and
it also
the 5
wasn't as rugged, and it also had all these extra features that you need your hands to do it that you can't do
because it was designed to use with hands.
Yeah, and so
if we're talking about the same one, yeah.
So if they made a 505 for guitar players that was rugged, had all these extra switches on it and stuff, it would be too much money. It would be heavier, bigger, more shit to carry around. So people probably wouldn't buy it.
RC50, you said?
50 is the first one I bought. and because I got it cheap, and it's very nice.
No,
But it
that's okay. That's the hand one. The first. Well, I don't know if the first or the
should
second or
be
what.
RC.
Oh no no wait. It's showing me the wrong picture. It's showing me the
Yeah,
505.
yeah,
505 is the hand operated one.
yeah. 50 is the red metal one.
50 seems to be the pedal, but I think it was you could do a lot, but only in a one track. I think, but you can do undo, redo,
As far as it had
verse,
less backing
chorus.
track choices that are built in, less metronome sounds built in,
Hmm.
little less everything, right?
So
It didn't
505.
have built-in
So
effects that you could
500.
trigger. It was just a looper. It didn't really have built-in effects that you could really trigger that well.
Oh no, 500. Wait, no, is the RC 500 is a Boss unit already.
Yeah.
It's not rolling anymore,
No, so was the
and
50.
it's
50 is also
no
Boss.
no no. 50 is wait. Let me check. What it showed me is 50 is rolling. I think.
Shouldn't be.
Oh, sorry. No, yeah. RC50 is a Boss also. You see, but once again, a stomp looping is a Boss product. Why? It's a freaking sampler. It should be a Roland product.
Because it's aimed at guitars.
Sure, that's why they did a handheld tabletop in the RC505
They just
from Boss.
kept that line going,
Exactly.
but it
It's
started
like
out in the guitar side.
Roland is dying, and everything that is worth keeping is becoming Boss.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like.
that's the market.
Yeah.
But
So
the
yeah,
50 is cool. I mean, that was the first
yeah,
one I got.
it is.
Well, actually, the first one I got was the K Oscillator Pro, which had looping
Ooh,
capabilities, but you can only loop like it was like
oops,
what
sorry.
was it? You can only loop like 2 measures or 4 measures, something like that, and that was it. So you couldn't do any like elaborate stuff, and
Okay.
you couldn't easily switch to
Mhm.
like a whole different set of them to
Mhm.
overcome the length issue. So you could I
Mhm.
built some tracks off of that were fun and interesting, but you had to constantly
Mhm.
tweak stuff to make it more dynamic than this boring loop that just kept going, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I got the 50 because it was a longer loop, it was more
Mhm.
tactile, um,
Mhm.
and it was it was rugged. It was a good price too. But then I noticed quickly
Mhm.
that it didn't have all the cool bells and whistles the 505 had, which is insert input effects, output effects, right? And as well as more choices for kind of everything and better
Wait.
syncability.
Yeah, but wait. What I think that the division line in the 505 and then the 500, no, the 505 because the picture of the 500 I just saw looks like a back step, a step back. The 505, my understanding is basically a 4 track sampler looper.
5 track, 5 track.
5 track, good. But each track is totally independent, which is what Reviet used to use at
Independent
the
or
beginning.
synced, however you want to do it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Sync, yes, but
yeah.
you could pause a stop, make 2 variations, and multi-layer per track. So you had, I think, 2 or 3 times 5 things you
You
could
can't
work in and out,
you
do and
can't do
undos.
variations on the track. You can make each track different, but you can't have there's no A B.
Ah,
So
okay.
that's the limitation. That's why I have two 505s. I need to figure out how to sync
Okay.
together. Some people do
Mm-hmm.
that, where you actually now you have 10 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got spoiled on the iPad, you had Loopy Pro, right? Well, Loopy HD, then Loopy Pro, which gives you like 16 loops to play with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
Mm-hmm.
want to, so I was building up songs, I would come up with a bunch of different loops that worked, and then
Mm-hmm.
I would figure out, I would sit there and listen to them and go, okay, these two work with this. Then I can bring in this. Then I can have like a breakdown here, and then bring in here, and then bring in a whole bunch more at once, and then simplify. And so you was basically going through the different song building process with these different loops. And the only issue I had there was because the way the iPad was set up, I didn't have any tactile switches or whatever. It was literally just finger shapes and like, okay, now turn those on, now turn those off.
Mm,
And then if
I
I'm gonna
gotcha.
if I'm gonna mute one as part of that, I have to remember to make that
Mm,
shape. So as I hit these three, this fourth one gets muted. And you could screw up sometimes and flub it and you got to start all over again because I'm doing it all live. And
did the
so,
505 have the flip flop functionality?
oh, there's toggle for mute. So
So
there's
you by
there's
playing
record, there's
one lane,
record.
it would mute another one.
Well, there's record. There's like hold and continue recording, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's off. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the three colors of the lights.
Mm-hmm.
So red, like red is recording, and then when it stops, when it finishes the loop, it turns yellow, meaning it will continue recording unless you toggle it to go to green, where it just plays, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
off. So those are
But
the
I mean,
if you're not
because
recording normally, those are the three states
no, I
past the
mean,
initial recording.
being five tracks, five mixer independent tracks, by pausing or muting one of the tracks, another track would start playing the loop.
Yeah,
Did that one had it?
yeah, but the only problem there is when you've now stopped a loop,
Mm-hmm.
it may not be as in sync as you want it to be. So the trick
Well, it
is
should
to
be
mute
if all
it.
the clocks are synced.
The trick
Yeah.
is to mute it or drop the volumes really quick because the volumes are very fluid.
So
There's
it wouldn't do it.
no, you'd have to basically if you watch the videos I do with the looper, you
Do it
basically have to
handily. Yeah.
constantly
Because
or a
yeah,
whole bunch at once.
some of the loopers would give you flip flop capabilities. As in, you can, let's say, set A and B like a
Yeah, there's no
crossfader.
no flip flop. Yeah,
And if you play
because you think about
one
that,
that
it's a
is
lot
assigned
more
to A,
memory. They would have to charge you more money.
more memory,
It is. It's got to sample to another
more
area.
CPU, if any.
No, it's got to
No,
sample to
but what I
another.
mean is, you have the tracks loaded. It
Yeah,
has their loops, right? And like Reviet does, you would play one track that has one loop.
yeah,
Then you want to add and play the second track,
yeah.
right? And it would play synced because the clock is
Right.
common, synced, and it will play the loops even if they're uneven in beats. They will try to just keep them in the loop at the same clock speed. What I'm saying is that you could set the third track to mute tracks 1 and 2 when you play the third track. Just by pressing play on the third, it would mute 1 and 2.
Maybe the Mark II does that, but the Mark One does not do that.
Okay,
So, but he
cool.
uses the Mark One. In fact, when you understand how the 505 really works, and then you watch him,
Mm-hmm.
he's a
Mm-hmm.
whole other level because not only is he building amazing loops on the fly and singing and doing all that
Mm-hmm.
shit. So, hey, Dave, what's
Mm-hmm.
up? He's not only doing all that stuff
Hey,
really well,
welcome.
right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
a chore in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But he is, because he only has 5 tracks, and he's constantly building up these things and then killing them and building up more things live
Yeah.
and then occasionally keeping a few on the side that he hasn't touched, and he'll go do
Mm-hmm.
another whole other track and
Mm-hmm.
then suddenly go back to those core things,
Yeah.
knowing how many things he's already built up in there because it's destructive layering, right? You can't just
Is
do,
it?
well, I
Okay.
mean, there's a level of undo, but he's going beyond that most of the time. So he has to keep track of all those damn undos, which is hard, or he has to just kind of redo it because he has all this shit right there. He can always just
Mm.
redo it.
Yeah.
But he's just incredibly good at not only making things beat match on the fly, uh, but knowing what he has in the bank. He's already
Yeah.
deleted some as he's building new ones, but he knows what he still has in reserve.
Yeah.
And again, it's all done on that moment. It's like he hasn't like canned these for earlier and then bring them
I
in. It's,
I don't want to take anything away from him. He to me is one of the best, if
he's
not the
amazing, and
best
he's
in the
funny as
world doing
fuck
that.
too. So that's part of
Yeah.
it.
On
So
top of everything.
yeah,
But I think his mastery comes from practice.
of course,
Just by the things he streams or publishes,
yeah,
the videos he puts out, that's hundreds and hundreds of practice hours
of
to do
course,
that things.
yeah.
and then the things he doesn't film or just share out.
No, and when he started doing this whole thing live in the parks and on the streets and stuff,
Hmm.
because he used to just do it in his
Hmm.
house, in his little bathrobe
Well,
and
yeah,
dancing around, all
because
that shit, right?
his big expansion is started in COVID, right? That's why he
Probably,
went viral.
yeah, probably. Well, his first big video, actually, Nick Bat was talking about him and got him a lot of press, talking about him on
Hmm.
Sonic Talk, and uh,
Hmm.
and there was a famous one he did live somewhere. There's a fuck Donald Trump uh, live mix, whatever. The crowd's going crazy,
Yeah,
and
something didn't
he's
work.
putting the mic around, talking people, trying to get them to join in, and he got really popular from that. But when you see his dynamics of going in the street and street musician knowing he's going to show up there because they follow him and they drive over there and they start playing live guitar and saxophone and rapping into thing, and he incorporates all that into his thing live, a combination of recording, live pass through, knowing which effects are
Hmm.
dialed in. And it's not that easy to tweak those effects on the
Nah,
fly. It's a little menu divey, right? So
a
he's
lot.
just
Yeah.
so good. It's like second nature to him. So anyone who spent any amount of time with the 505 and then watches one of his live
Hmm.
street things
Yeah.
and how good it sounds, you're like, holy shit, this guy's amazing. So
Yeah. Agreed.
yeah,
Totally
and I
agree.
got to finally see him live when I was at Nam. I left a few hours early on that Sunday because he suddenly was doing a live at Venice Beach.
Hmm.
And I was like,
Hmm.
oh shit, not only am I have a bit of a drive over there, but it's getting near commute time. And you know, LA commute time
Uh,
is a nightmare. So I barely made it, luckily. I saw a good hour of it or something like that. And I streamed it on my channel, actually. But
yeah, I think that's the bit I saw.
but it
Yeah.
was really fun. And then as soon as it's over, like obviously people want to mob him for autographs and pictures and stuff. Man, you should have seen how he got the fuck out of there because he got a little nervous because it was a really big crowd, and it's Venice. Venice is nuts, right? So you
Okay.
could see he was like trying to back the hell out of there, getting in his car, people hovering, and it was like
Hmm.
zombies, right? He was a little scared, and so
Hmm.
I was gonna try and say something to him, but I said, oh, the poor guy, he's mobbed, man. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not good.
Run for your life.
Yeah, you could tell the crowd was a little unruly for him, and he had to get out of there. So,
Okay.
but,
In the spirit of not subjecting anybody to
including ourselves.
ourselves, including very much
Yeah, I gotta
including
go eat. I'm getting hungry.
myself,
So before I forget,
but in deference of the newcomers, namely Mr. Suchek and Aziohead, which is still around,
he's
unless
around.
you have a question that would want us to address in 5 quick minutes, we're gonna still wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm.
Would you like me to play the last video you shared, the Doom one?
Oh, do we? Yeah, we didn't do that, did we? Yeah, I don't think we forgot that last
No,
time.
because I
I'm just gonna
couldn't
show
have
real
this
quick.
shit
I've been
working.
meaning to do some videos on this thing. I've talked about this a bunch. My cigarette, and I keep forgetting
Nice.
to do any videos on it. So anyone's watching and wants to see this thing in action, I will do some Seek Track stuff coming up. I just been so damn busy. I haven't had a chance to sit down and do anything. But
Tell me
I even
about
didn't
it.
make hardware jams this week because I just didn't have any time. But so I do have
Oh,
some cool stuff planned for Seek Track. It isn't a fun little
thankfully, you
device.
had one on the pod.
And yeah.
I just need to find it, which is not
And
this.
the idea on this, if you're doing the Doom one, it was obviously based on the video game, the kind of heavy metal, grungy, action-oriented soundtrack on there. And the idea was to make something it would be either be in the Doom game or sounds kind of like the Doom music. I ended up making it a little more like Nine Inch Nails, which was actually in Quake, not in Doom, because I think the
Okay.
Quake music was better, but it still sounds like it could fit inside Doom. So
Okay. So let me just
you know about
get
the Doom game, right?
this.
I mean the Quake game. You know about that, where you actually had a nail gun in the game, and the crates for the ammo said NIN on them. It's the Nine Inch Nails logo for the nail
Okay.
gun, and then they had Nine Inch Nails
Nice.
music on the soundtrack.
9 Inch
So
Nails.
it's a great soundtrack. It's very eerie, creepy kind of soundtrack.
I mean, yeah, everything, anything from 8-bit to 32-bit, all the sound work those master people did, it's crazy.
Well, it's not
What
his
they
usual
achieve
stuff
with
though.
that little.
It's not his
What?
usual Nine Inch Nails output either. It's more horror, more
Damn.
ambient, more creepy, more like he did later in soundtracks for movies.
Okay.
So it was almost like a precursor to stuff he was going to do later on in his career. It's kind of cool
Or he was just doing it on the
because
side
you can
because
get Nine
he
Inch
deemed it
Nails.
not
You can,
commercial.
yeah, you can get the Quake soundtrack on vinyl now. There's a collector's edition, and it's funny that only one side is the music because he only did so many tracks for it. The other side is solid
Hmm.
black vinyl, no grooves, with some like credits on it and stuff. It's kind of funny the way they did it.
Nice. As I
Yeah,
said, masterpieces, all of them. So, uh, sorry, David, you came f- for the end of it, but
it's
we've
okay.
been at it
He
for
missed
three
some of
hours.
the drawn out parts. So
As I said, come for the information, stay for the train wreck.
yes,
So we will see you again June Friday 6th, because that's the first Friday in June, because the first is Sunday.
by the way, that's my Living Dead weekend. So I might be able to
You
pop
won't
in
be.
for a quick
Okay,
high, but I won't be able to
sure.
hang. So yeah,
Cool. Not a problem. Whatever you, as I said, just come, say hi, say goodbye, and have a lot of fun for all of us that we can't make it there.
it will
So,
be fun.
and
I'm
now,
just busting my ass to get the money to go because I'm kind of broke now. But
and
it's
be sensible,
just
be
first
sensible.
world problems, right? So it's
I don't think so. It's every worst problem.
no, meaning that
Thank you very
I'm not
much.
complaining about food. I'm complaining about money for shit, for fun stuff, right? So
Well, you also need money for food while you're there, so you also
exactly.
complain about food.
That's true.
Thank you very much for
Yeah.
coming. Come back next month for more and deeper. We need to finish the bloody modulation. There's only two more subjects to treat about, and then we can move on to funnier stuff, or at least less complicated stuff. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
See you very soon. Take care. I'll leave you with this. And